Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
Appreciate you being here. I have a few questions for you. So how many of you primarily deal with software? Just maybe one or two? Okay. All right. Software development or yeah. So what about any IT folks here? No, not any. Okay. So just trying to gauge what we need to go into. I've heard a few of you have worked on websites before, so we'll try and we're going to make this very interactive. I would encourage you to ask questions as we're going through. We're going to do some demonstrations as we go through, and we just want to
draw on the board.
Draw on the board, do whatever we need to do. So please don't hesitate to interrupt us and make this as interactive as possible.
Yep.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ed.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Lance.
Yep.
Excuse me. So yeah, let me see. Let me go through these slides here. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit. WordPress is hosted. And what that means basically is that it makes you a website, but there's code involved, so the code has to exist somewhere, right? So the code can either exist on a computer that you have, or it can exist on somebody else's computer, or like what I mean by that is like WordPress.com. They've set up a way that you can go and create websites very easily without having to have go find an ISP and do stuff like that. So WordPress is hosted. I'm going to talk about what is WordPress, how does it work, some interesting overview about how a site is laid out. There's some concepts there that are good, and then there's posts and there's pages, and what's the difference between posts and pages and things like that. So this is just a sort of general introduction to WordPress. I'll go into, maybe I'll draw on the board a little bit, some of the architecture so that you understand what's underlying how it works, because that's very helpful, because it's not this big mystery, you know. And my background a little bit is that I have been doing WordPress since 2011. I got into it because I was working with a guy and we wanted to set up a blog. And so we looked around and said, oh, WordPress has got, I don't know, hundreds, millions of downloads and millions and tens of millions of websites on WordPress. So we said, this is probably a good thing to use because it's ubiquitous. And so we got into doing that. And so we went to install WordPress. And then we decided that we wanted to be able to have a couple of different sites, because we had different things that we wanted to do. So we'll have a blog about this and a blog about that, and we make these all different blogs. And I discovered that was called multi-site. And it turns out that at that point in time, multi-site was like bleeding edge WordPress. So all of a sudden I'm walking into trying to set up something that's bleeding edge WordPress. So I had to learn a lot more about WordPress than I wanted to know about WordPress, but it was very interesting exercise. So I got to learn about themes and the code and how things work and stuff like that. So that was that. So anyway, so I've had some interesting experiences, setting up self-hosted WordPress. So let's go on. Now, IEEE, most of you guys are not here for IEEE, but there's a couple people are. IEEE used to have, and they still have to some degree, HTML-hosted websites. But that was very hard because you had to have somebody who knew about HTML and knew how to FTP up the website every time you changed it. And so they had a lot of websites that were out of date. And WordPress is a content management system, which means that you don't have to upload things to pages. What you do is you can go in and you can use an editor on the web, and you type in your content and you save it. And so that's a lot easier for people to deal with than, having a copy of your site and FTPing it up every time you want to make a change. So they have a network WordPress installation. And there's two ways you can do that. You can use subfolders, so you can have a folder-based system, or you can have a subdomain-based system. Everybody's familiar with subdomains? No? Okay. Well, we'll get into that. Now, if you're in a network situation, like WordPress.com is a network WordPress situation, you don't get any access to any of the code. So you have a site, and you have control over the content of your site, but you don't have any control over WordPress, any of the WordPress stuff, okay? You can't install new themes and new plugins. You can only use what the network administrator has put in place for you to use. If you self-host WordPress, then you have full control over the system. You can install a new theme, you can bring down a new plugin, you can get to the code, if you go to some support site and they say, oh, go in and edit your blah blah here and stick in these PHP, you can go do that if you have a self-hosted system. If you're on a network, because obviously if you're on a network and you got all these different users on there, it'd be chaos if people are going in and they're all changing the code. It would just, it'd be a mess. You can't do that. So if you're on a network system, so that's what I said. So on that, your administrator ability is restricted. So what you can do is there's a set of themes, set of plugins, the look and feel, and the content, and you can create users for your own blog. So that's what you're doing if you're using a what they call a hosted version of WordPress.
Question?
Yeah.
The previous slide, the acronym, when it's first sentence, MGA.
Oh, that's an IEEE acronym. That stands for Member and Geographic Activities. Yeah, IEEE likes acronyms. Like any large organization that runs on acronyms. Yeah, and EWH was Entity Web Hosting. So they have lots of things. Yes?
And did you say that WordPress can be self-hosted?
Yes.
It can be.
Yeah. So you can go and GoDaddy or any of those ISPs, and you can get a domain, and then and they have, like, in the control panel, they have some simple scripts or whatever they're using nowadays. There's a new one, Mojo something or other, because I went to our host to do something rather than what happened to simple scripts, and you do some click, and it'll install.
So in that case, you're just using WordPress as a set of tools for building a site, nothing more than that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, actually, yeah. In either case, but one's whether you have all the WordPress, or if you're using somebody else's. So if you do it yourself, then you have to worry about updating the plugins, updating the WordPress, that kind of stuff. If you're using like WordPress.com, they take care of all that kind of stuff. So it depends on how hands-on you want to get into doing that.
Is it possible to switch to start with the?
Yes. Excuse me. You have to back up your content, and then you'd have to take it over and import it. So it's possible. I've done that. It's relatively straightforward, but you got to be careful because you may end up not getting some content. I will go into that because different content is stored in different places, and so okay. Excuse me. So here is. Let me see. Is that? Yeah. Okay. So this gets into. So this is an example of a folder-based kind of thing. But this is so if that's what a folder-based installation would look like. This is not a WordPress site, but this is the format of that because there was a so you can get a regular domain name and have that be the name of your WordPress site. Okay, so that's what we've done on IEEE. IEEE, you can have several different ways to do it. And the IEEE thing, they don't allow us to do credit card processing, so we can't have any of that kind of data in the WordPress system. They have we have to do that. And as I mentioned, the backups and the software updates, all that stuff is handled by the ISP. If you're on an ISP, you may actually have to schedule that, but we would recommend that you make sure that if you're doing anything active with your site, that you get it backed up, weekly or monthly or something like that. It's very good to do that, because things every so often people figure out how to hack WordPress. Not very often, but sometimes. Okay, so WordPress is a content management system, which is what it mainly is. It can be used as a blogging platform. It can be used as a website, as a regular website. I've got a bunch of examples. I'll show you. So it's not just blogs, okay? So people think it's just for making a blog, but you can do a lot more with WordPress. You can create different pages. You can do it. You can have event registration. There's things like that. It's licensed under the GNU GPL, which is GNU. What is that license? Something like that. I can't remember the acronym. It's written in PHP, JavaScript, and MySQL, or at least to use MySQL. That's the easiest thing to do. But it's been around since May of 2003, so it's been a while. If there's you can look up the history. I forgot what it started. It started as some kind of a blogging platform, and the guy who was doing that, and the guy who now runs WordPress, which is Matt Wooling, I can't remember. I can't pronounce his last name off the top of my head. And he was using this, and the guy who was doing the work on it stopped doing it. And everybody, where did he go? And everybody liked the system, but nothing was being supported. And I think it was in open source. And so he took the code and said, okay, I'm going to start in doing something, and then that eventually turned into WordPress. You get WordPress from WordPress.org. That's where the support forums are. That's where what they call the codex is, CODEX. That's where they tell you all about how to develop plugins, how to develop code, and all that reference information is there. And these slides are from like a year ago or so. And that time, the WordPress version was 3.8. There were over 65 million sites, and that WordPress 3.8 had just been released, and there were like almost 14 million people who downloaded it. So there's a tremendous number of people using it. If you want to go, you can go to this URL download counter, and it'll show you. I don't know if we want to do that. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? If I can find. Oops. There we are. I'm trying to click on the. I get too many monitors here. I'm getting confused. Okay. Where do we want to go here? Let's go back here. Let's copy this out. Oh. This is weird. I've got one monitor here where I'm moving the cursor around, and it's down there, and on my screen it's up there. And I'm getting this. We'll have to edit that out. There we are. Okay, so they're up to version 4.1, and that's a real-time counter, by the way. So it's very popular. Oops. So I think what I should do. Well, no, I think I got some pictures, I think. So WordPress has code, and the code is installed, as I mentioned, it's in PHP and JavaScript. So you have there's WordPress code which is about the WordPress itself. Then you have what they call themes. Themes are what makes your website look like it does. And then you have plugins. The plugins add features to the website, and we'll get into that. And there's a big, as I call it, a big honking database. So everything goes into a database, except if you upload like a PDF file or pictures. Those don't go in the database. Those go into a file structure. That's what I meant by if you back stuff up. If you pull stuff out of the database, you don't have everything in your site because all the media stuff that you've uploaded and these files needs to be pulled over as well. So how they do this is each site has its own unique set of data, and the data there has configuration about the site, the posts, the pages, and the end pointers and information about the media. I don't know if I have a picture. All right, so let's go back. Let me go back here. And where I'm going to draw something. I guess, can everybody, I draw it in the middle, but the screen's in the way. Okay, so so you have a big database, right? So I probably should have drawn it as a pie chart. Let's draw it as a pie chart. So in the database, you've got some stuff about WordPress. So you've got users, the users and the site information, and I think the database is a bunch of stuff that you got in there. And then for every site that's in that, so if you had a multi-site thing, each site has its own incarnation of data in the database. Okay, so this is one MySQL database, and there's an ID. So each site has an ID assigned to it. So you have the sites and their IDs, and so that's basically how. Without getting too deep to the non-IT people, but that's sort of how it's structured. Okay. Let's see, what else do we? Let's see, what else are we going to say here? Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's sort of how the data is. So there's a set of metadata about this, your installation, and then for each site. So a while ago, I think it's much more than that now, but there's over 2,000 themes, and I suspect by now there's probably more than that. They're free. There's also a whole cottage industry of people who develop themes for WordPress, and they'll sell them to you for $49 or $99 or $199 but WPMU Dev, I think is the name of the site, is pretty good because they are associated with the WordPress developers, okay? And they have a lot of plugins, and they have this deal like you give them a couple $100 and you can download any of their stuff, something like that. And they have a lot of good stuff, and they're really tightly tied in with the WordPress developers, because it's an open source, so you can't make any money selling WordPress, but you can sell things that plug into WordPress and features that go with WordPress and consulting that goes with WordPress, so that helps. And then that's why they have WordPress.com, because they sell hosting. So you've got 2,000 themes, you've got 10,000 plugins. So your job to configuring your website is to pick a theme and pick some plugins. Okay, so anyway, but there's recommendations. There's a lot of it's not that bad, but if you first look at it, it looks a little daunting. So another key thing is that other than your site URL for your WordPress site, a URL doesn't exist. So typically this is like a directory thing on a website, you've got something or other HTML. So you got all these HTML files, right? And you upload them all, right? And you can go on the web. You can go into the directory on your server, and you see all these HTML files for all the pages and stuff you put in. WordPress, there's none of that. None of that exists. Everything is rendered out of the database. So the content here is in the database, and every time you refer to a URL, it renders it out of the database. Okay, so some people have come up with caches. So if you've got some site and people are always looking at a certain page, it could be pulled out of a cache instead of having to be rendered, things like that. So there's some optimizations that have been done. So all the URLs that go in are filtered through WordPress, and WordPress decodes what is being requested and figures out where it is in the database, and then calls the right PHP code that's going to display that. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Okay. The programming people are probably going, yeah, we know that, but I just want to make sure that people who don't do programming or whatever, understand how it works. Yes.
Who keeps the database?
Hmm?
Who keeps the database?
The database is stored where on your internet service provider.
So how many databases are there?
For your site, there's a database. Okay.
Not everybody's sites are mixed up in the same database.
No. If you're like WordPress.com, and you've got a site at WordPress.com, that's a multi-user WordPress, a multi-site WordPress. So they've got a database, or they probably have a whole set of databases in some kind of distributed system, so your site would be here and my site would be there in the database. Okay. But if you're on your own web host, then you just have a database where you just have your stuff. You have the WordPress stuff and you have your stuff. Now, if you made a multi-site system, you'd have site A, site B, site C. But most people probably don't need to do that.
Okay, that's the difference. What you mentioned in the beginning, the so-called self-hosting and network hosting, right? Is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah. And if you self-host, you can make a network. Okay, but
right.
yeah.
So if I have a site called XYZ, okay,
Yeah.
I basically type in my customer types in www.xyz.com.
Right.
So that gets translated then in some way. Where does it get recognized?
Okay, we'll get into that. Yeah. Well, that's more of a lab question because we'll have to get in WordPress installation. I can show everybody how it all works. But yeah, so there's a config file that goes in. When you refer to that, it runs a PHP file on the in here. So in here on WordPress in this file area that you've got, on your this is your site basically, and these are site files. So it comes in here, and there's a PHP file. There's I think it's a, and what there's a. So when you go here, it executes a file, and you get down to this PHP file for WordPress, and then that looks at the URL that was coming in and figures out what to do.
Okay, so the PHP file called recognizes xyz.com.
Yeah, it's code. We'll show you. We'll show you later. It's easier to try to show you than it is trying to explain it. Yeah.
What's the difference between a page and a post?
Pages and posts are created the same way, but they're stored. Actually, what it really is they're in here. There's a thing. There's a list of posts and there's a list of pages. And otherwise, the content's the same, but they're rendered differently. So the editor type that you use to create them is the same, and you save it away, but it's rendered using different code.
Do I have control over that?
Yeah. I mean, you edit a page, you edit a post. I discovered the other day that there's actually a plugin that you can switch a post to being a page and a page to being a post, because it just goes in and it tweaks it. It tweaks the database entries for them. But what we usually use is a page would be used for like static stuff. So you want to have some stuff that's like about your business or a list of who are we, about us, or that kind of thing. And if you're announcing something every week, right, rather than make a page every week, announcing something, you put that as a post, and then that is like a push down list. And you can categorize them, and you can search for them, or you can put tags and things like that on there. All right. Okay, so there's themes. These are the themes that IEEE has, but there's, like I said, there's lots of themes. WordPress comes with some themes. This is an eye chart, so I don't expect you to read this. So their themes are the 20th series. Don't ask me why. So they started in 2010. They came out. They said people were asking, why doesn't there a theme come with WordPress? Because you got 2,000 things to look through, and people said, why don't you just give me something? So they finally said, okay. So they made a theme. It's a pretty simple theme. So they have 2010, and then in 2011 they came out with 2011, okay? And 2012 came out with 2012, okay? So I don't think there's a 2013, is there?
No, there's 2014.
There is a 2014 theme. So every year, every whatever, they come out with a new theme, and it's different. They've added, it's different. They've added some features, and to it. And those can do very basic kinds of things. And so, okay. So here's a great thing about WordPress. Since your content's in the database, right, and you don't have all these HTML files, and everything's rendered using code in the theme and the plugin, right? If you don't like 2010, you can just switch to 2011, and all your content is the same, and now it looks different, right? So that's the beauty about WordPress, is you can change your theme around without having to reinvent your whole site. So that's sort of sweet. That's sort of sweet. So yeah, because see, these are all different looks and feels that IEEE came up with for stuff. So here's the basic way, the layout of a page. There's a header at the top, which could have a picture, it could have text, whatever you want to, different kinds of things. But there's a header. Then there's what's called the navigation area, which is typically where you have menus, things, menu things that you can click on, search area, something like that. Then they have what's called sidebars. So they have a left sidebar area and a right sidebar area. There's a footer, and then there's the center. So when you get a theme may have a left sidebar and a right sidebar. It may have no right sidebar. It may have two left sidebars. It may have two left sidebars and two right sidebars, depending on what the guy wanted to make the theme up, wanted to do. It could have a footer. You can have one menu. It could have three menus. It could have sub-menus. So all of those are for navigation. So that's somewhat the difference in themes, is you'll find out they have different numbers of different kinds of things that you can do in terms of the layout. They also may have, so when you put a page or a post in, the content comes out here in the middle. And so the other things themes will do is they'll have different kinds of things you can do with pages. Maybe somebody wanted to have like a newspaper looking kind of page, so their thing has a bunch of little boxes on it that you put in if you use a certain format to show stuff, to showcase things. So there's dozens of ways to do this. But so that's basically, when you're doing WordPress, you've got the header, you've got your navigation area, you've got plugins go into the sidebars typically. No, widgets go into the sidebars. Widgets go into sidebars. Plugins may create widgets, and the widgets go in the sidebars. Okay, is everybody sufficiently confused at this point?
What is the difference between widget and plugin?
Plugin is what you install. Okay, so the plugin is a piece of code you install, and some of them, I'm trying to think of. For example, there's a plugin to put a contact form on your site. Okay, so the contact form doesn't have any widgets to it necessarily, but it has, so you create a contact form and you use a short code, which is a special formatted piece of text that you stick in your page or your post that's recognized when it's rendered, and it will put the content of the form that you described in there. So that's an example of a plugin that doesn't go in the sidebar. So you can do a lot of things with WordPress.
I'll show you a few of those concepts.
Yeah. So it's a very powerful system. It's a very powerful system. I think that's probably why it's so popular, is because you can do so much with it. Here we are. So this was a year or so ago. I don't know if these slides, I don't think I updated these slides since then. So there's like lots of plugins. Okay, and Many of them are used. Some plugins, if you check, have like 1 million, 2 million, 7 million downloads. Like a plugin that you might want to look at is there's a plugin for SEO, which is search engine optimization. And I think it's WordPress SEO by Yoast. Don't ask me why. He's the guy. He's one of the WordPress guys. And I think there's like 7 or 10 million downloads of that. And I don't know what it does, but you fill in all this information, and then it pings to Google and Bing and everybody when you save your page that here's this new thing to index. So there's a lot of stuff. So if you go to WordPress.com, IEEE, I think this number's up to 111 now. So IEEE staff went through, and they have like 110 plugins now that they screen. Sometimes, like I when they first installed it, they had I worked on the Region 6 site before. Actually, Dave Butcher worked on it, and I worked with Dave Butcher on it. And now Lance is working on it. And I looked, and there were emails. We're putting email addresses up there, and I looked, and they're plain text. I said, oh, this is not good. You don't want email addresses sitting out there. Although nowadays it's irrelevant because they've got all our email addresses anyway. But at that point in time, and so I found this plugin called the Email Address Encoder that you'd run that would turn every email address into a bunch of gobbledygook from a text point of view. So if anybody harvested the text of your page, all they get is this encrypted stuff. But if you use, I think they use JavaScript or something. So if you looked at it and you clicked on it, it would work like an email address. So you could mail something to somebody. But if you were harvesting it, you didn't get anything useful out of it. So I mean, so there's some plugins that you probably really ought to do for security and things like that you want to put in, so that if you have like lists of email addresses of contact people, you probably want to have those encrypted. And then, okay, here's a couple other very useful plugins. There's one called Akismet. Akismet, spam is a big problem because the spammers like to post comments. Here, get these great Gucci bags, click here. They love I really liked your post. It's really, some of these you have to improve the comments. So it comes, you get this thing, oh, I really liked your post. It's really great, and check out my website, And if you approve that, then it goes on your thing, and somebody comes, if you have a lot of comments on your site, and so somebody goes and they click on that, and it goes over to some site and installs malware or stuff like that. So there's this big problem with spam. So they came up with Akismet, which is a service that WordPress people provide that look at all comments and they'll screen them for spam. And if they're spam, they get dumped automatically in the spam bucket on your site. And if you have a multi-user system, there's a plugin for that. There's a couple other things that we did. I think a couple of these have been removed since because we've changed versions of WordPress, and I think the plugins didn't work. So that's the problem with plugins, is that they are developed by people like you, and if the people, they do it and they don't go back every time WordPress changes, they might do something significant and the plugin doesn't work anymore, and if the guy doesn't go back and fix his plugin, then it won't work. So there's a little bit of that. So Akismet, is free if you're not commercial, and then it's like $5 a month, something like that. Okay, so widgets. Okay, here's some more about widgets. I think we talked about this. Plugins often come with widgets. So there's some default widgets that come with WordPress. So there's a widget that you put up that will have a selector by category. So you can put a category on a post. Pages don't have categories. You can have comments on pages, but you can't have categories on pages. You have tag clouds. There's a menu plugin for the menus. There's a search. There's a text widget, an RSS widget. There's things like that come with WordPress, so that you can have an RSS feed from your site, or you can display RSS feeds on your site. And there's the dashboard. We'll get into the dashboard. The dashboard is basically the control panel for WordPress, for your WordPress site. And there's a whole bunch of menu entries in the dashboard, and one of them is called Appearance. And under Appearance is where you can either do the widgets or the themes and things like that. That kind of stuff is under. Yes?
Can you say a little bit of what a category and what a tag cloud is?
Okay, a category. It's like posts and pages. They're very similar. Categories and clouds. So tag clouds.
Let's just say you can make menu structures out of categories.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So if you have posts and you assign them to a category,
Right.
you have different category menu structures, they'll automatically go into those menus.
Yeah. So there's a in the menu there's an is it a widget in the menu? There's an item you can put in the menu that says I want to display. Click on this menu item and it'll show a set of categories. So what you can do with the categories is you can separate all your posts. And so you should be tag clouds, people go wild with tag clouds and they just put in anything that anybody might want to search for on your post in the tag cloud, right? Which I think you need to be selective. My personal opinion, you probably should be selective in your tag clouds, because if you make it too much stuff, then it's as bad as not having anything. You know, you're losing some of the goodness. But categories, yeah, good. So you could have a category like typically when I do a site, I'll have I call a category called news, something that's news, or an announcement, or like we do conferences. So I have here's something about a conference, here's something that's just an announcement. Here, we have something about an award, so we have a category for awards or things like that. So that's a way to do things.
They're just ways of organizing the content.
Yeah, organizing the content. Yes. And tagging is probably more about searching and relating the category content into subgroups. I guess that probably might be a better way a best way to think of it. Yeah. But it's like a lot of things in Word like you got pages and posts, and they're sort of the same. And yeah. You had a question. Yes.
Difference between the text widget and the RSS widget.
Okay, text widget, you can just put in text.
Okay.
And what I've discovered you can put in the text widget is you can put an image in and have a click on an image or things like that. We'll show you some examples that'll make it a lot clearer. But you can just put regular text in. Whereas an RSS feed, you actually put a URL of an RSS feed from another site that you want to display. What else? Widgets. So these are, this was, I'm not sure which site. This is a Region 6 site. So these are some of the, this is what a widget area looks like. So this is defined by your theme. So in our theme, we have an area called a promo area. And then IEEE is trying to make us move to a different theme. And the first thing I discovered in the new theme is the promo area went away. Well, we got all these sites where I just put stuff in the promo area, right? So now I've got to change stuff around. So we have a sidebar. So you have recent posts. So recent posts will give you say how many posts, like I want to show 5 posts or 10 posts or something like that. And it'll show whatever the most recent posts are. Then there's a categories. So so you have you can get a pull down, and so all the categories you define come down there, and you click on whichever one you want, and then when you display the posts, it'll show you only that set of posts. Then you can also put a menu item in that will only go to a specific category, so you define that in the menu item. They have links, so you can put a whole bunch of links in, and there's here's appearance, yeah. So if you go up here, there's in the dashboard, there's a thing to define a set of links, which will show up here. I haven't really found a big use for links other than if you have, like in our instance, we're IEEE, and so we have links to like the main IEEE page and IEEE USA and I don't know, technical activities or some other particular areas that we want to go to. and then RSS. So in this case, we've got a feed from the IEEE Spectrum magazine. And in the footer, which is down at the bottom, there's this thing called meta. Meta is very important. That gives you a URL or a keyword that you can click on so you can log in. Otherwise, you have to remember the URL to log in. I happen to like to have it on the site because then I don't have to remember it. But some people, they don't want to see the URL link because I don't think that makes any difference, because I'm sure a hacker has figured out it's always the same. Whatever your site is, it's always the same. So, so what else you got? You got a tag cloud, so you can have your tag cloud show up. Those are built in. Custom menu is built in. Archives. So every month, WordPress doesn't really archive your posts, but what it does is this gives you a search, so you can search by month. So this is not for pages, this is for posts. So you'll have a thing. So you can, so if you have a blog every day you're doing something, you can go in and you can look at the last by month. See what else. And we have the Akismet. Let's see. Is avatars built in, or is that a plugin that we have? I'm not sure if avatars. I know there's a way that you can have an avatar on posts. Recent comments. So you can also have recent comments being displayed. So if you're having a blog where you're having people do discussions, then you can show the last 5 or 10 or whatever is discussions in the sidebar. Let's see. Search. There's a search form. Pages, you can list all the pages. So if you have a site where you have like 5 pages and you don't want to have the pages in the menu, you can have it sitting there, on the sidebar. So there's a lot of ways you can cut and paste and your information around in WordPress. Now, and then there's the calendar is built in, right? That calendar is built in. There's a calendar that's built in that has a calendar of your posts by the days. There's other calendars, plug-in calendars you can add. There's a Google Calendar. There's an all-in-one calendar, which is an event system. There is a slider, a gallery, so you can have a gallery. Now, they've added, in the latest version of WordPress, it has built-in galleries, because people really like galleries. But there was this plugin that had galleries, so we're using that. So you have a slideshow or a gallery, things like that. What else are we having here? Yeah. So those are some. So when you go in, into the dashboard, this is scrolled up a little bit. So the posts is how you go and you can get to look at the posts. You can see. You can list them all. You can look at an individual post. Media is things that you upload, like images, PDF files, doc files, anything that's a file, basically, it goes into media. Pages is where you go in and you can look at all your pages and edit all your pages. You can also, on the bottom of each page and post, usually there's an edit button down there that if you're logged in, you'll see the edit button, and you can edit it that way. Comments is where you go in and manage comments. You either approve them, you can delete the spam, you can empty the spam bucket. Because if you're running with a Akismet and it's putting stuff in spam, you go in and you say, you have 4,833 things in your spam folder, and you say, I don't need that, and you just delete it and purge it. Usually, it's probably maybe a good thing to do that, because modern databases are pretty efficient, but I don't know if you really want to have lots of junk building up in your database. It's probably better if you don't have your database full of junk. So themes, contact is the contact form that we talked about. Themes are where you go and select the themes. Widgets is here. Menus is where you go and you configure your menus. Header, so in your header area you can upload an image, things like that, so you can manage that in the header area. Background, I haven't really figured out exactly what this does, but in the layout of the page, there's some little space around the content, which is like the background. So you can go in and you can style that. I never found any. I go and I do that. And I don't know. Yeah, it's usually hidden, or I don't know. But you can do that. Actually, if you get the right kind of theme. I used one theme once where you could go in. It was almost too much, because you could go in and you could style everything. You can say, well, I want the H1 header text, I want to be orange, but the H2 header text, I want to be blue. You know what I mean? So there are people who go in and you can get to that level of detail. You know, that if I had other stuff I wanted to do, that was just overkill, you know, to do that. But you know, if you have a certain thing you want to do for the site for a particular reason, you know, you would have the capability of doing stuff like that. Plugins is where you manage all the plugins. You can install plugins, activate them, deactivate them. Users are where you go in and you can create users for your site. Tools are some, what's in tools? Tools is like backup or import, things like that. We don't do a lot. Settings is very important when you set up your site. You need to go in. There's a whole set of things in there. You can set your tagline for your site. You set up what you want the URLs to post to look like. Do you want them to have, you know, month, day, year, month, day, hour of the day? Do you want to have them, you know, year, month? What date? What format do you want the date to be in? A lot of configuration stuff for reading and writing. Then you also need to make a decision there. You can make your home page display all the posts, so then your site looks more like a blog. Or you can have the home page be a page, and then your site is more like a content management system. And you can still have a blog. You just have another page, and that page is where the blog goes. And you don't really have to create the page. You just give it a name, and WordPress stores that away and says, anytime you go to this page, display all the posts. Now, this is a CAPTCHA. There's other things in settings. What are the other things in settings? I'm trying to remember. There's if you install some plugins, they will show up and add entries to the settings menu. There's an extension to the editor, and I'm not sure in WordPress 4 they changed the editor around. And they broke some stuff. At least in my opinion, they broke some stuff. And I went on this, and a lot of people think they broke some stuff, but the WordPress people don't really think they broke anything. And so I'm not sure. At some point, there'll be enough people in open source, and somebody will come out with something or other that'll fix the problem that the people who couldn't stand that it was broken, you know, did something for, and it'll be like it used to be. But they redefine some stuff. Yeah.
Can you password protect the site?
Yes. Well, all the users have a password to log in, okay, and the people who are reading the site have no access other than just looking at your site.
Can you stop people? I mean, even to access the site.
Yeah. There's a plugin you can install that requires you to type in a password before you can get to the site. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I know we have it on the IEEE thing. So if it's under development, you can make it so that nobody can get in to see anything until they do the password thing. Yeah, so that exists. There's that. And then this is a CAPTCHA. So this is another anti-spam mechanism. This is good, especially if you have a contact form, because the contact form, you know, essentially doesn't really work with a Kismet or whatever. So you want to have people type in a CAPTCHA. So there's half a dozen kinds of different CAPTCHAs that people have come up with for WordPress. Yeah. I'm just going through. Then there's other plugins. Here's one that'll give you put a Google map on your site if you're having some kind of event, or here's my store, or here's the Google map. You know, it's an interactive map. You can put something for a map. A gallery, that's for I talked about the photo gallery. There's a thing called User Access Manager, which is available so that you can create a set of users and they can only get access to the pages that you tell them to get access to. So if you had some kind of thing where you had, I don't know, if you had people who were well, there's also classes of users too. But anyway, so you can do that. So people come up with ways that they can segregate different types of users.
It's like when we do the registration on the website, is it managed by UAM?
No, that's not for
That's a
registration.
different
No, it's different. And then the SEO I talked about, and then there may be options specific to your theme. But in our case, there's the IEEE themes have their own sets of options. Yeah.
Is there a limit to the amount of content you can have
in the WordPress? No. I mean,
Depends on your ISP.
Yeah, it depends on your ISP. I mean, yes, good question. One of the settings you can do, there's a couple of things. There's a setting somewhere. In the network situation, like what we have for IEEE, the network administrator can specify how much space each site can take up. Okay, but if you're on a self-hosted kind of a deal, so if you're on WordPress.com, they probably have a limit of how big your site can be, and probably if you want to pay them $10 a month or $20 a month, or you can get more space. Now, what you can do in the settings thing, if you had ran something where you had a bunch of people posting things, like so you had all these users who are so that goes back. A thing I didn't mention in users. In users, there's 4 categories of users by default. There's the administrator, there's an editor, there's an author, there's a contributor. Actually, there's 5, and the 5th one is just a subscriber. So a subscriber has an account, whatever that's worth for, and they just look at stuff. A contributor could post something, but it wouldn't be published until an editor looks at it, I believe. And then an author can also post something. Editor can come in, they can post stuff, they can create pages, but they can't. The administrator can deal with plugins and themes and creating users, but as well as doing pages and posts and things like that. But an editor can't do the administrator functions, but they can make a new page, they can put posts in, they can delete a page, they can do a lot of that content kind of stuff on your site. So authors can create the content, but they can't make it be published. So there's a button when you create content that says, I want to publish it. So you can make it be a draft or a review draft or things like that. So there's a lot of complexity, a lot of features, I should say. Which, yes?
The other question is it allowed to use ads to have like adware?
Oh, yeah. There's plugins. You can get plugins that you can have Google Ads and Ad Rotator. Yeah. Because a lot of people are using WordPress to get a lot of popular people have popular blogs, then people want to do ads, and then they can make money from their blog by having these ads. Yeah. So that's sort of a. This is a 500-foot overview.
Yeah, we'll get
into it's not a 30,000-foot overview, but it's it's a little bit lower level than that. But it's not the actual hands-on stuff. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, for my own understanding, I'm trying to figure out sort of the architecture or the general organization.
Yeah.
So the idea is on your calendar on the left-hand side there are a bunch of, I guess you could call it applications, and the ones on the right, those are widgets, meaning kind of like commands kind of thing. And each one of the application can call a number of commands if it wants to. Is that the idea?
It's like applications on an iPhone or something like that, right? If you have a plugin, you're going to plug that into your iPhone, and with that plugin, you get kind of some settings in your general settings area, right? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So this is a menu basically. Okay. And so you say that I want to go to the widgets, and so now you're sort of in the widget configuration system here, right? And so what you do, so I missed a very important thing. So if I wanted to put the slideshow in here, I would drag this widget into here. So that's how I get a widget into the sidebar, as I drag it in. So it's a drag and drop thing. And then if I pull this down, I can get some configuration information. One of the ones is like delete. So I can remove the widget, I can go and I can delete it. And it doesn't really completely go away. Down here on the bottom that you don't see is a list of recently used widgets or recently or no longer used widgets or something rather. So if you had something that was configured and you put it down there, you could drag it back if you wanted later. Sometimes if you switch themes or whatever, you go in and you discover that some of your widgets got kicked around because the new theme didn't support some of the structures that you had. I think they've improved that in the later versions of WordPress, because that was, I think, a complaint that people had, as I switched themes and my widgets got all screwed up.
I don't know what's your plan. Is it possible that we can have an example, have people sign in?
Yeah.
And with a WordPress, either IEEE is non-IEEE, so while you're teaching and people can play with it.
Yeah.
And so that will be learning a little faster.
When I present, we'll go into more detail on these examples as well.
Yeah.
Because when people, at first they need to sign in like 10 minutes to go through it.
Yeah.
And then when you go through the example, the people can play on their own computers, see how that works.
Want to finish off here?
Yeah, I'll march through here. I talked a little about menus, our themes, IEEE themes. We have 3 menus. The new theme, they've gone, I think, back to 1 menu. And we talked about menus because have links, pages, subpages. There's an interesting thing that there's a plugin called Custom CSS you can install, which lets you style things in WordPress without having to go and edit the CSS files. Because editing the CSS files is bad, because when you install the next version of WordPress, your stuff gets wiped out, right? So the plugin has a sort of auxiliary CSS that gets loaded after the other CSS files are loaded. Everybody know what CSS is? Cascading style sheets? Okay. That's about all I know about CSS. I know a little bit of how to style things, but I'm not a CSS expert. Pages can have subpages. What that means basically is when you make a page, you can say it has a parent. And so then depending on the menuing system, you can create a menu where you put entries, other entries, and so you have a drop-down menu. So you can make drop-down menus if you want drop-down menus. And there's more things like that. I've talked a lot about a lot of this, I think. So the way you add content to site is posts and pages. Now there's an editor. You can type in text. You can switch the editor to an HTML mode, so you can put stuff into HTML, especially if the editor wants to interpret what you're typing in this one way, and you really want it to be interpreted in a different way. You can go in and put some HTML in. There's a caveat in the newest version of WordPress. They changed the editor, and we've discovered that when it saves the text, the content of your post, it likes to strip stuff out, formatting stuff out for some reason. That's what I was telling people were grumbling about, especially in tables. It's especially annoying in tables. And then there's media, and we talked about carriers and tags. And posts are a stack, so the latest post comes out on top. And so that's why you have a list, and you can see, and that's why you have categories and things so you can search. And pages are like a single post. They're like a post, but it's just, there's no stack to it. It's static. I talked about the custom CSS manager. I talked about the email address encoder plugin. We have this thing called MapPress, which lets you do Google Maps. This is the advanced editor. So this adds a lot of features to the built-in editor. And except with the version 4, I think the guy's trying to make it compatible, but they changed some of the structures around. And so at some point in time, there'll be a plugin that comes back that'll do that. But TinyMC is really good. It's really popular. I think there's a couple of them, but it has better styling for tables and things like that than comes by default. The interesting thing you discover is some of this stuff is applicable to self-hosted WordPress. If you go to WordPress.com, you discover that they have different features in their version of WordPress than you might get, because what they do is they have other plugins that are pre-installed that add different kinds of features to WordPress. So there's a little bit of different, you might notice some difference. We have these contact forms. There's a nice thing that you can do when you're in the editor is they got rid of paste from Word. It's now paste. It's smart enough to figure out it's Word, which is good. So if you had a document in Word and you could just copy that, you could paste that into WordPress, and it throws all the crap away. We can edit that out of the audio, but so all of that styling stuff that you used to find in HTML kind of stuff from Word, it cleans that all up, so it's very clean. It used to not be that way, so you had to use paste from Word to tell it to clean up everything. So that way you get stuff that'll be in bold, and especially if you have a table and you put the table in Word, you paste it in, and it's really nice. You don't have to go into defining a table and then putting stuff into all the cells. It makes it nice that way. There's things called a favicon. That's a little thing that shows up in your browser next to the name of your site. You can put one of those. WordPress.com has built-in slideshows. We have this Gravity Forms, which is a lot more fancy kind of form, contact form you can do. You can style things. There's another interesting called Plugin Hog Detector. People were complaining that the sites weren't performing nobody knew why. So you plug this in for a while, you enable that, and you run your site, and then you get some statistics, and it tells you where it's spending all its time. So if you discover that you've got some plugin that's really, really slow, you might, if you disable that, deactivate that, gee, my site's now 50% faster. Posts and Page lets you display posts on pages. And then there's another thing called Google Maps, which is different than the MapPress. See, some of these they have like pro versions. IEEE bought these, but the pro version means you got to send the guy $25 or $50 or something like that, and you get a new version. We talked about users. We talked about the Access Manager. There's a thing called Posty. I haven't played with it. It's on my list to do. I've just been too busy. But if you're trying to get people to put content, we've discovered that we have volunteers, and we say, yeah, well, here, we'll give you an account for your area. Post stuff, and nobody ever posts anything. And I think it's because they don't want to log in, and they go to the dashboard and look at all that, and I don't know. So there's this thing called Posty that supposedly, if you can send an email with some certain keywords in the email and to your WordPress system, some emails tied to your site, and then that'll come up as a draft post as a way to encourage people who don't want to log in and deal with all that stuff. You can write an email, and send it in. I don't think we have Syndicate Press anymore. If you have old pages, you can either rename them or you can unpublish them. Or if you have pages, if they're not on the menu, you can just make them sort of be there but not show up. So we have some documentation that is applicable to IEEE people, but probably not to you guys. We have I have a document about using the plugins and the widgets and what all the plugins are, and then for the Region 6 people, Dave Butcher wrote a document about how to post things on the site. There's a nice there's a big PDF that's available from IEEE MGA about, say, 6 megabytes about how to manage your site and do content. So I am done with my set, and I think we should probably take a break. And then Lance and I will regroup and figure out what to do next, because we don't have a strict format for this thing. So it's sort of, what do you guys need, and
Why don't we taking the break?
Yeah.
And you talk to them about how to log in and start a website.
We'll probably do that, after the break, maybe.
After the break.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
So
then
like 15
start
minutes, is that a good
to,
break?
when you're talking and people can.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Is 15 minutes a good break?
10 or 5 or 15?
15. Why don't we do
People
15?
feel like
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, have the recording.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started again. So Ed has given you kind of an overview of WordPress and its functionality, specifically some of the plugins and so forth. I'm going to give you that similar overview, but with more details and examples of actual sites and so forth that I've worked with. And we'll go from there. So I'd like to start with a little bit of history as well. So as some of you said, you worked with HTML, maybe made your pages in Front Page or Notepad, right? That was my favorite editor. And then used FTP to publish and so forth. Well, WordPress definitely takes us beyond that and gives us some nice features and functionality that expands beyond that. But just as a background, your basic HTML page, we've got your tags here that create the content, your HTML head, body. That's a basic page. If I wrote that up in Notepad and I opened it with Internet Explorer, it would show up and it would have, that would be the title of the page and that would be the content. Well, fundamentally, WordPress creates that, but it does it on the fly. As Ed has mentioned, it is reconstructing that using its internal code. And so when you view the source for a WordPress page, it's going to have these tags in it. That's fundamental. If you haven't looked at tables, this is your table tags, your basic table tags. Then you've got a row. Oops, I missed that. That should be TR. And then TR and TD, so that's 2 cells in a row. So this is just basic HTML. There's not much to it. There's more that you can add to that. There's certainly like alignment tags and characteristics, fonts and colors and so forth. And you can include that. You can actually change that in the cascading style sheets and just make your tables look all nice. But sometimes it's helpful to know this when you're looking at WordPress tables. I will just say that. So these are, speaking of old sites, some old sites that I created way back in the day. I started with, I think it was HTML 1.0, and like within a month after reading through the entire HTML 1.0 specification, HTML 2.0 came out, and I decided, well, I need to learn this. So I learned that, and I created an HTML page that documented the HTML 2.0 code set. So that was kind of fun. But we're now at, I think, HTML 5.1 or something like that. So this is kind of some graphical interfaces that I created. They're all static. I put a lot of time and effort into some of my clients' graphics. That front page. From a style perspective, we'll get into that a little bit more. The front page is extremely important, the landing page for your site, to make sure that whoever lands on your page is going to be impressed by what they see, obviously. Not saying this is the best way, but this is what I did in that time. So WordPress. You've seen this. I think Ed showed you version 3.8 of the interface. This is the latest version that we have for IEEE. As you can see, it looks very much the same as what Ed showed. Hasn't changed a whole lot. Now, I manage multiple sites, so when I click on My Sites, I see all of these sites. If you have one site, you're just going to see one. And you can set a primary site up for yourself as well. When I click on Dashboard here, it's going to take me to, the next page. So there's a dashboard. So here's the dashboard for the IEEE Utah section. And so here, kind of gives you some basic statistics that you can look at, at a glance. We have 5 posts, 15 pages. We've received a couple comments that I need to go in there and mark as spam. And Askomet has protected us from 2,180 spam comments already. So I've only had to mark about 15 since I started the site. So it does a pretty good job already of blocking spam content. We have, in this particular site, I got 2,000 megabytes of space and are using 107 megabytes. So this is obviously, this is a hosted site. IEEE MGA hosts this site. They've set us up with an allocation that we can use, and if we get close to it, I'm sure they can expand on it, but I haven't gotten close to it, so I'm not really worried about it yet.
What's the latest version of WordPress IEEE website use?
Is it 4.1? Oh, is it on there? Okay.
We are not running
No, I think there's some conversion issues or something. I don't know. I need to look into it.
Okay.
Because the site that I'm working on is 3.7.1 or something like that. I need to update it.
Yeah. Can we update ourselves?
No, that's something MGA would do.
Right.
Oh,
If you self-host, then you have to do it yourself.
Right.
Actually, in the new version, in version 4, they've made it like a lot of like Firefox or some of these other ones. It'll come out and say, "Oh, there's a new update," and it'll just do its own updates, and you don't have to do it. That may be good or bad, depending.
Yep. All right, so this is your dashboard, and now we'll start going into more detail on these links on the side. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned pages 15. Does that mean that this website, a particular site, has 15 pages?
That is correct. Yep, I have 15 pages. If I click on this link right here, it'll show all 15 pages. That's right. Mm-hmm. And the same way with the post. If I click on the post, you'll see the 5 posts. Yep.
The ActiveNet you have there, did you have to particularly put it in?
You have to activate that plugin.
You have to activate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll get into the plugins more in detail as well. Yep. So the first thing you want to do when you pick up your WordPress site, whether you create one on WordPress.com or you start to work with the WordPress tool and self-host, is pick a theme. So as Ed mentioned, IEEE has a number of themes. We currently have 34 templates that I can choose and pick from. So you want to just pick one, right? Start out. That's the first step that you have to take. Then you want to start adding content to it. So pages is one of the first things you want to do. You can create, this is again more of a static content structure. So we've got a home page, and I added a calendar on it. And then we've got some others, so awards, news, links, officers. This is, if you were having a business site, you'd probably have something like products, support, content, or contact, something along those lines. Be very similar. Maybe you have some sales that you would want to do on your site as well. So you'd create these. You basically start, just add new, create a page. It'll create the page, and then it'll take you into the editor, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And then when you save it, you'll be left with something here that just shows the title. If you click on that, you'll get like an edit, delete, your options for that page and what you can do with that here. Similarly, posts, you might want to create some posts. So as I said, posts are more of a dynamic thing. This is the blogging aspect of WordPress. So here, it's very simple to just create a new post, throw some content in there, and click publish, and you're done. You assign it to a category maybe, and the content just shows up on the site. The pages, a little more static. You have to assign them to menus and things, but the posts just show up, which is a nice... Right, right. So here we've got 21 drafts, and I don't know why there's so many drafts, but there they are. When you're creating pages and posts, you're probably going to want to add some graphical content or maybe some other content to those. So we've got here, there's docs, PDFs, images. You're going to need to add that content on the into the media library. At that point, you can then add those into your pages and posts.
Can we add video?
Yes.
IEEE.
Yes.
How about slide presentation?
Yes.
Should you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. To repeat the question, she's asked if we can add slides or video. And the answer is yes, you can add that to this as well. I will show you some other methods that you might want to consider for video. Video takes up space quickly. So you might want to consider creating like a YouTube channel. And you can then have a link on your site to YouTube.
And WordPress version 4, they've got it a lot easier to put videos in. Because there used to be some kludges you had to do before, but they made it much more direct now to put videos in.
Okay. All right, so to go back to Ed's slide here, the framework it looks like this. You've got your header, you got your navigation, your center, your left and right sidebars, your footers. There's, in the IEEE Region 6 site, there's a kind of a promo section that's on the left sidebar. So we'll talk about that. So just keep this in mind as we start talking about menus, which now we're talking about menus. Menus you can create from all the different content that you've created on your site. So this lists the most recent. These are static pages, so awards, societies, and chapters. Some of these are categories, I think. You can add events, links. As I said, there's categories. And what you do is you take one of these and you click Add to Menu. And when you do that, it'll move it over to this area. And in this area, you can drag these in order that you want. You can maybe create a sub-menu, pop-out menu type structure. And then you assign a name to this menu structure and click Save. So at that point, now you've created a menu, and it has some content in there.
And this is an example of a single menu theme.
Yes, right. So this is, you can create you can create a new menu as well.
Right. But you can only have, you pick between the two. You don't have 3 different menus on the theme, I believe.
Right, yeah. So in this particular case, so in the theme options, then you would pick which menu you want to go where. So we would pick like the main menu, in this case, would show up at the top, the navigation portion of the page.
So when you navigation, you have home, and you have, for example, about, right?
Yep.
And home is a menu, and about is a menu.
Yep.
So they are not it's not correlated. Right?
No. So home. So home would be an item in the menu. So, and about would be like maybe the next item in the menu.
And then what you mean by create another menu? And
So-
where are they going to locate?
Right. So if we go back to this, so in this theme we have the menus assigned in the navigation area, but I could pick a totally unique menu and put it in the left sidebar per se. Okay, so you can create multiple menu structures. Okay, so links. I don't have any links created for this. We don't really use a whole lot of links in IEEE, but if, for instance, you wanted to, let's say, create a blog about virtual reality, and you wanted a link to Jaron Lanier's page, you could do that. And, if you wanted a link to, I don't know, Autodesk or something, you could do that as well. So this is where you would put these, and then the links would be another option that you could have in the menu structure.
What's the difference between the links inside the menu or in the whole site?
So these links are, okay, so think about it this way. Think of this links page as a page. It's content. You've added the link URLs and the names, and now you're adding that page to the menu structure. So this links is just referring to this content.
It lets you put all these links in like one place. So now you have this list of all these links that you can.
Links inside
If you want to have some special thing. I mean, it's not every link you put in every post or every page or anything, but if you have a certain set that you want to, it gives you a place to put those. Then you can display them all together.
Yep.
Can you have a description?
Yes, you can. Yeah. So instead of like just putting the URL, you can put, Jaren's page to the URL. So that would be add new, and we'll do some of this later on as well. But you'd click add new, and then it would give you. I should have had a link in here as an example.
But it would give you a text, so when you mouse over the menu, the text would pop up, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because WordPress uses some JavaScript stuff to implement things like that.
Yep. Okay. All right, so we've talked a little bit about plugins, and we're going to go through this in much more detail later, but if you click plugins on down here, you'll find that there's a whole lot of plugins, and assuming that you're with a hosted site, the host will have plugins available for you to use. You might also be able to install plugins. It depends on the host. If you're hosting your own, you can install plugins, but installing them is not the same as activating them as well. So you have to install and then activate. So here's some that I have not activated. Here's one that I have activated. And then once you activate them, there may be some settings that you can set in here, or the settings may show up in down here or under the settings or under the appearance. It just depends on the particular plugin that you're using.
When we choose a theme, an IEEE theme option, do different themes, they have a different plugin, or all the plugins are the same?
Themes and plugins are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So IEEE give us all the plugins will be on the site already.
Yes, the plugins
And so
will be.
that have nothing to do with which theme we choose.
That's correct. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the editor for the pages and posts a little bit. So there's two different views of the editor. If you click on a page or a post and you click edit, you're going to be brought to a page that looks like this. All right, so here you can add the title of the page or post. You can create a custom permalink, so it'll just, if you plug in a title, it'll kind of create one for you, but you can edit that. You can change it to whatever you want.
One thing to note, if you put any content in before you give it a title, it'll invent some kind of number title. So if you want to have an actual text in the title for the URL for the post, be sure to put the title in before you put any content in. Because otherwise you'll save the thing and you wonder, where is it? Oh, and it's, P equals 4783 will be the name of your post, right?
So you want to pay attention to this. It also helps from a search engine optimization perspective as well. We'll get into that just a little bit as well.
Another question.
Yeah.
I am doing our website, so the IEEE's website just have the logo, IEEE's logo, and we want to put Seattle logo.
Yeah.
And we want no picture. Can we do that with the current?
That's the header.
Yeah.
That's a header.
Yeah.
You can show us how to do that.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
great.
that's
Because
not.
we really want to show our logo. We don't want just to have IEEE logo.
Yeah. If you want to do something like that, then you need to get some kind of image tool, and take a bunch of things and make a montage.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
If you can show us. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's more of the header and theme options.
So
Yep.
what happens is,
I'm
can
not
we
graphic-
still
I'm
do
not a
that
graphics
even
guy.
these websites already there? I can just redo the header.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if you're building your own site and it's not an IEEE site, the content is the same, right? You're going to create these pages and posts, and you're going to add whatever graphics or tables or text or whatever you need to add in here. But this particular editor doesn't create the page. Let me rephrase that.
The rendering of the page.
It doesn't create the entire page. Think of it more like frames. If you know anything about HTML frames, this creates a portion of that frame. It would go into that frame. Okay. All right. So here again, you're going to add media if you want to. You don't have to. This is kind of a WYSIWYG editor, so you can type your text in, format it like you would in Word. There's a couple of exceptions. You can add URLs right here or delete URLs. What else is in here? There's a content eraser. So if you don't like or should say the formatting of a portion, you can select that portion and erase the formatting completely. So it's slightly different than a Word interface, but there's some good stuff here. We talked about how to publish. So in this particular case, this page has been published and it is public. We've had 2 revisions, and you can revert back to previous revisions if you'd like to. It's a database, so it stores all those changed content. You can change visibility to private. I think it's just public and private. I don't think there's any other option.
Oh, I think there isn't there. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Draft is a status. Right?
Yeah, status. You can change it to draft. If it's draft, it doesn't show up on the site. If it's published, it shows up on the site.
Yeah, unless it's private, right?
Unless it's, private has some different characteristics to it as well. I've tried that. It doesn't work quite the way you'd think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the editor, when you add media, like video or images, can you control exactly where they go, or do they just stack?
That is a great question.
And the answer is maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So the question was, if we add media in here, can we control where it goes and what it looks like? What Ed and I have done to kind of get around some of the WordPress characteristics is to put the media into tables, and that gets us a better idea of a better look to what we want in the end. But even that has some limitations.
Yeah, you can put media in, and you can make it be aligned left or right or center with more or less success. I've been able to have text, wrap around the images, and do things like that in a general post. Sometimes you put them in tables, and WordPress uses a baseline thing, which makes the text show up at the bottom of the image, which is annoying if you're trying to, create a nice regular structure of stuff. So the answer is maybe.
We'll get to that. So in fact, let's just move on to that. So this is the HTML view of that page.
Right.
And I will caution you, when you edit this and you're used to typing HTML, it may not work out exactly like you want it to, because it's a WYSIWYG editor and it's got a code back end. So it'll actually go through and process this code. If you switch, let's say you make a change here and you switch back to visual, it may edit that out.
Yeah.
So
that content was pasted in from a Word or someplace, right?
That's correct.
So
that's why
typically you don't have those ID equals things show up. That's not something you have to deal with. But if you paste it in, you may end up with, because I think there's a bunch of styling right in the Word stuff, so you'll end up with some artifacts left over about the styling.
This is the table content, and it was just copied in from Word.
Yeah.
Had I typed that content in, it would look much simpler.
Yeah.
Now, so there's some other aspects here too. If you're used to inserting comments in your pages, comments just show up like text, so don't expect them to be hidden. That's kind of a weird quirk of WordPress.
WordPress doesn't let you put just any HTML in the posts or the pages. So you can't use like an iframe tag. It'll throw that out, because that turned out that people are able to hack things in by doing stuff like that. So there's plugins that will do the iframe thing for you and things like that. So
I like to use comments like to do, add stuff here, and it just shows up so it looks unprofessional. So I just have to remember to do it. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the media. So if in these, if you click Add Media, what you're going to get is probably going to look like this, and you just do what it says. If you got a bunch of media you want to take, just drag them in there, and it'll start uploading those onto your site. It's very simple to work with. And then once it's uploaded onto your site, you can pick them, and you can pick more than one at a time to add. In this case, I've picked that graphic, and I'm going to add that in, and You know, you can add a title, a caption. You know, if the browser doesn't support images, you can do that. I don't know if hardly anything doesn't support images anymore, so I never put that in anymore. And then a description. You can set an alignment, and then there's some other options for the media as well.
I suppose if you had to worry about accessibility, you might be able to use the alt text to put something in that would pop up for people who wouldn't otherwise maybe not be able to see the images.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I find that the WordPress renders relatively the same in all major browsers,
No.
or are there some differences?
There are some differences, and especially when it comes to graphics, like what we talked about. Yeah, I just got that comment recently from someone who wanted me to create a page on a Region 6 website, and they're very specific about how they wanted it to look. I'm like, I'm sorry, but there's limitations in WordPress. You have to be aware of them and do your best, but yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Which one works best?
I wouldn't say there's a best. There's a best for you, right? It just depends on what you want it to do. Yeah. Like I think the comment I got was, if I looked at it in Internet Explorer, all the images were stacked, which was the way I wanted it to look. And if I looked at it in Chrome, the images were set kind of diagonal, like, you know, put it down and then over to the right. There's not much I could do about that. Yep. Social media sites. Okay, so we're going to move beyond the basic content now into how to configure your site for the kind of the promotion characteristics of the site. So one thing you can do in the settings, so this is the IEEE theme options, is you can change your logo. There you go. Tagline, you can put in a tagline, and you can set up your Facebook link. So if you have a Facebook site for your company or organization, you can add that here. Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So those are the 4, I think, that we have right now for IEEE.
And so what that does is, on the site, when you display it, there's a Facebook icon, and you click on that, and it goes to the Facebook page. Mm-hmm. It does not take content you put into your site and put the content onto Facebook. Okay, so I'm still looking for that. I haven't found one of those.
If anybody wants to write a great little plug-in, have something that takes the pages and posts that you create here and have it push automatically into Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, I'd love you.
How do I get to this page?
This is under the IEEE theme options. So if you look down here, there's...
It's underneath.
There's
it's
theme
down there
options.
on the.
So then that means this same option going to change up my whole site option?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So that's
it
the-
will be totally different than what do we have?
Well, no, it changes your logo and your
Change the
tagline
logo.
and your
Oh, okay,
tagline.
that's great.
Yeah,
So
that's what you
the
wanted.
one I want to be.
Yeah. And I think there's another one for a header, isn't there? One
Yeah,
for a
there's
header?
a header
I think.
options
It
as
depends.
well.
It keeps moving around depending on the version of WordPress.
So these options are going to be variant depending on the theme that you are using, obviously. So if you're not using an IEEE theme, it won't look exactly like this, but this will be how you can get to those theme options for your site.
There's a plugin you can put in that will add social media icons to your posts on the bottom. It's like it will show up, and then you can configure those so people could say, you want to tweet this, you want to do something with it. But
Pulling content from Twitter onto
Yes.
the site?
Yeah, so that's more like an RSS feed, so you can add an RSS feed to your menu structure or other structures as well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So this is another kind of way to customize, and I'm going to show you how all this kind of works in the IEEE Region 6 site here in a minute. But so we talked about widgets, and in this particular case, this is the promos text widget, and we've added, as you can see here, 3 images with links on the images. So in this case, we have 3 conferences that we wanted to promote, and so here's you can just type in the URL or the HTML for the image right there, and then we've got the link around it, right?
And how you get the URL for the image is you go back into the media, and so that image that Lance showed with that little logo that he wanted, if you go to the edit button on that, it brings up an edit thing, and then down the bottom of the edit thing is the URL to the file, right? So you copy that URL to the file, and then you go back over to the widgets with the widgets thing, and then you paste that into the thing. And this is the only place in WordPress where you actually write in HTML.
Yes.
Okay, in this area here, because that's the only way you can format these things and do it. But fortunately, it lets you put in the HTML there.
Yep. Doesn't mess with it in this case. So that's a nice little thing.
right.
If you've got maybe if you've got a commerce site and you wanted to have a 20% discount for a week, right, or something like that, you could go in and add that in here.
And if you'll note that we have width specs on these things because the sidebar has a certain width to it. And I used one of these. I had Firefox. I used one of these add-ons to Firefox that lets you look at your styling, and it said, oh, it was 220. So I said, okay, so I'm going to make the width of the thing, 220.
All right. So let's talk about users. And Ed talked about this a little bit already. So in this case, if we've got a bunch of different users on this site. If you would like to add another one, you can add new user right there. In this case, we have 3 administrators, 3 editors, and here you can see who they are. They don't have to be members of IEEE. Obviously, you can add any user if you want somebody to create content for your site. If you've got like a multi-person blog, let's say, or if you've got maybe an online internet publishing organization, I don't know, whatever. You can create content creators, or you can just be one person, be the administrator, editor, whatever. And then you can see the roles here. To do it, you click Add New, type in a username, their name is optional, and an email address, and it will send them an email asking them to accept their new role. Which they do that, then they can do whatever role you assign to them.
Right.
It's kind of nice.
One other point is WordPress differentiates users by email. So in the IEEE world, like if I wanted to add somebody to the region site and they already have an account, then it's going to say this already exists. Okay, and I may end up having to send a note to the network administrator guy saying, please, I want to add so-and-so to my site with an account. Because I can't create him as a new user because he already exists. And the administrator person a user can assign a user to as many sites as they want to. So if you're going that road, I expect probably most people are not going to go that way initially. So.
Yep.
Are the users set up across all your sites or just per site?
It's a per site. Yep. Yeah. So like Ed was saying, if you're a user and you want to manage 2 different sites, you'd have to be configured in each site to do that. And then once you are, when you log in, you'd have access to all those sites under one interface.
If you look on the top liner, it says My Sites.
Yep.
If you clicked on that, let's say Lance and we're on multiple sites, so we'll get a list of all the sites that when we log in that we could go to. And so WordPress is figuring out that by our email address or our username rather than the site we're in. Okay, so that's sort of a different thing. So but when you log in, then WordPress goes to the data, knows which sites you can get to.
Okay. All right. So if you would like to, you can enable comments on your posts or pages. I think it applies to both. I know it applies to posts.
Yeah.
And so here, this would be kind of where you could add a forum or something along those lines if you'd like. It's got limited capability, but see here you can not have it. You can, I don't allow people to post comments on our site. I don't think it's good. I've seen it go very bad in some cases.
Yeah. And they have a thing there they call pingbacks. So pingback is interesting because every time you post something, a page or whatever, you'll get a pingback.
Yeah.
And that's some like internal WordPress thing. And then a trackback is if somebody you references your post. There may be something that comes back. So so that's why you can. That's an SEO kind of thing that you can say, oh, my post was pointed to by all these other sites, but we sort of like we're not into that. So
Yep. There's options. Let's just put them out.
There's a lot of options.
Yep.
Definitely a lot of options.
Okay, so calendars are kind of handy if you've got an organization or business that you're doing a lot of event-based things with. So IEEE is hugely event-driven. We have meetings like this today. We have conferences. We have all kinds of good stuff. So calendars is a big deal. And so one plugin that we found very handy is this all-in-one event calendar. And with that, you can create a calendar on your page, and it will list all of the events that are happening from an RSS feed. Now, in the case of IEEE has a tool called vTools, and all of the different sections, chapters, regions, whatever, plug their events into this tool, and it's kind of the master database of everything that's going on. And we can just pull data out of that based on the region or location, and display that on our regional or section-based website. How do you do?
We pull it from vTool because every time I have to do several different.
Oh, I can
show you.
I can show you that.
I'll show you.
We can show you that. Yeah.
That's what I'm going.
Like, you have to copy and paste and just all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you can direct the feed, it would be perfect.
Yep. So you can also do this with Google Calendar. So if you have a Google Calendar set up for your business again or whatever, then you can pull that feed as well and pull that into these calendars. So this is kind of how you quickly how you set it up. So under the calendar feeds, the feed subscriptions, you would add the URL for your feed, and that can be ICS. I think there's HTML, and then there's one other option.
XML is there?
Yeah, I think it's XML that you can pull in here, and then if it's got categories or tags, you can pick those. You can allow comments. All these options. You can set that up, and then you just click Add New Subscription. You can decide how often that you want to look for that. Now, there's an interesting note on that for IEEE. I had this set up to check hourly and pull in events, and what I got back was that because we have so many different sites, IEEE does, that the server was overloaded. So Con told me we should change that to daily. Yeah. So that's why we have daily.
Yeah.
But if you're
that brings up a point. WordPress by itself does not have any kind of notion of time. Okay, so on your server, if you're self-hosting, you have to create some kind of cron thing that'll poke at WordPress periodically if you want something to have it being periodically updated. That's fairly techy, but WordPress does not know it's now an hour later and it's got to do something. So it's because it's code that's just sitting there. So if nobody's rendering anything or looking at your site, it's dormant, and so you have to worry about how to get it tickled, to do things on a periodic basis.
Yep. So something to keep in mind with the calendar feed is for sure.
Yeah.
And then on on the IEEE site for IEEE members, there is a list of meetings, RSS that you can, or feeds that you can pull some from. So for instance, when I log in, it knows I'm from the Utah section, and so I can pull either Utah section feeds or Region 6 feeds. Right. But you have to have a.
Never get to this page.
Yeah. So.
Only when you go in, it will immediately show this.
It won't immediately show it. So if I
get into this, I don't see
Yeah,
So-
there's a little line when you log into the meetings thing that says meeting feeds, and it'll take you to this page and shows
Yep.
you all these
Yep.
things. Yeah.
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 So this is all
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
IEEE specific,
Yeah.
but this is where you'd go for IEEE.
Right.
Let's see. All right. So at that point, then.
But your next slide is good. That's useful.
Yeah, I think I'll come back to calendars and
Yeah,
show you
okay.
how to do that with Google Calendars. It's
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing.
So how do you bring this into our session website?
Oh, just-
Okay,
Go to the
so
next page.
so you would click on, let's say your section is Utah. You would click on this. I think I use the iCal,
Okay.
and so I click on that. I get the link, and then I go back in and I plug that in right here.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay. You just
Yep.
plug right there.
plug it right in. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So but you had the calendar in the next slide, don't you? Or something?
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
So this is the Utah section landing page. So when you come and go to sites.ieee.org/Utah, you're going to get that.
Okay.
And so the first thing you're going to find is a calendar. And so this is the all-in-one event calendar, and you can set it. You can set the calendar to default to a certain view. In this case, I've got it default to the agenda view. You can set it up to weekly or monthly, whatever you are more comfortable using. And then obviously it's pulling this data in from the feed, and so if you were to click on that, it would bring up the details, and all of this stuff is again linked back into our IEEE vTools database. This content comes from that. So I wanted to kind of show you the various characteristics of a rendered site, if you will. So there's the menu structure that we created. In this case, we just have a few menu items, and there's nothing real complex about it. It's just, there's no sub-menus or anything like that. Here's the social media, the links right there, so Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. WordPress generates this search box automatically. It's kind of one of the nice aspects. You get some benefits of using that. Here's the promos widget. So we've got the SUSTech 2015, which we're hosting in Utah in a few months. And then here's the posts. So the content for the posts just shows up automatically. Okay.
I have a question
Yeah.
about the search.
Uh-huh.
Can it search contents of documents that you put, like if I had a magazine article or a
Yeah.
calendar, it can actually search the text of that article,
That is a good question.
It searches the text in your posts and your pages,
but not.
but
the
not your
content.
media, not the media. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I don't know the answer to.
Now, I don't know if somebody's written a plugin that would
Yeah.
search through the content of the media. I mean, because it's in the database, and theoretically, you could pull out a list of all the media and go through that. I don't know. I know that there's some kind of a limitation in PHP on how long a PHP thing can execute before it's terminated. I think it's like 30 seconds. So if you put something in that was going to take too long, it may never finish and just be killed. So.
All right, so this is just again another example. So here we clicked on the officers menu item, and it brings up the officers page. Okay, so the key thing to note here is that this is page content, not post content. This is the post links, but again, all this stuff is just created automatically. That's the advantage of a site like WordPress or a tool like WordPress overwriting these pages statically, how we used to do it.
How do I change the size of the cell?
Change the size of this?
Yeah,
Good question.
I tried very hard.
Yeah, you can't.
You can? The
Not-
one
not
that
from, that's one of the theme characteristics.
is that right?
Yeah, we had a real problem with that with the Rising Stars website. So IEEE Rising Stars was a conference website that I put together last November, December time period, and there's some things that you just can't change. You can pick a different theme.
It looks bad if you don't customize.
Well, you can make them bold. You can make the font bigger.
That's true.
But
you can do
just
stuff like
can't
that.
change the size.
Oh, you want to change the
width.
the width? Oh no, you can change the width.
Can you
Yeah,
change
yeah,
the
you can
width to the
change the width.
center?
You go, yeah, that works fine. You can go and you set the width properties on the cells. It's a little bit tedious because you may end up having to go through and switch into text mode and go into each of the HTML row and figure out what amount you want and make sure it's on. I think it has to be at least one of the rows in the cell. Then it will apply to the ones that aren't styled. But yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, just tedious.
But it's not as you'd think it would be something that you could just put a thing and say, oh, okay, I want to change all this thing automatically and do it. But they don't. For some reason, they don't. Well, don't let you do that. There's a plugin called Table Press that does a much fancier job of this, but it's a little bit hard to use in terms of styling and stuff because it gives you everything in like a spreadsheet kind of format, and then you have to. It's a little awkward to use, but you can style things differently.
So bottom line is you're sacrificing customization capabilities for ease of use, I guess, with WordPress.
Yeah.
All right, and then so the next example here is this is a post content. So I clicked on, this first link here, and it brought up this post. And again, everything else, it just created automatically. So again, it's nice. I don't have to create all of these pages individually. It just does it automatically. So that's a major advantage, major win for WordPress. Yeah. All right, so style. I can teach you how to technically create a website. I can teach you how to format text with colors and so forth, but I can't teach you style. Style is something that you're going to have to create for yourself. WordPress doesn't create graphics. It's something that you're going to have to do. It's the same scenario. So all I can say is that when you look at a page, a website, and it matches what you expect for its style, that's probably a good page. And if it doesn't, it's probably one that needs some more work. So how do you gauge style? How do you assess whether you have the right look and feel for your particular company or organization's website? Well, I guess it depends on your company and organization. In our case, with IEEE, we're more of an information provider to our users. That's the way I look at it. We're not there to be brilliantly colored looking, the best graphical interface to our users. So I don't try for that. With my other company websites that I developed for companies, I obviously spent a lot of time on their initial graphics and their look and feel. But style is something that you're going to have to come up with yourself or hire somebody. There are lots of graphical designers out there looking for work. I don't know if you're familiar with Elance. Elance is a great site to go to hire contractors to put graphics together if that's not your particular forte. All right. I will list a few resources here. So from HTML perspective, like I said, HTML5 I think is the latest version. Tables, if you need some help with tables and attributes, because at some point you may need to go in and edit that HTML for the page or post directly. If you like cascading style sheets, need some help there, that's a good link. And then these are some of the things that Ed put together. And last is go to WordPress.com and set up a website. So you can set up one free for your personal use. And you probably will want to do that maybe over lunchtime or this afternoon, tomorrow. If you're here tomorrow, that's when you are going to get an opportunity to work on your own WordPress sites.
Right.
Okay, and then
or you can go buy a book.
If you're into tree-based material,
right. And there's hundreds of videos on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Ranging from 5 minutes to 3 hours.
So there's
I'd start with the 5-minute ones.
It's quite a lot of resources and options to look at. So any questions to what we've seen so far? And then I will go into some of the other sites that we've developed. Yes?
How is WordPress working as far as e-commerce?
So we're gonna get into that this afternoon a little bit more. IEEE has obviously some restrictions in terms of what you can do, but I'm going to cover a couple of the plugins particularly for PayPal and Amazon that you can use with WordPress. But it is an option. Yep. Yes.
Can you go back to your previous page?
Sure. That one?
Yeah.
No problem.
I want to write down one of the link.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you hand out those presentations so we can?
Nope. Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. We'll send them to your email.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody sign up here.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't come in.
If you didn't sign up, you sign here, I'm going to have him to send to you.
Yeah.
We'll send that out. Any other questions? Okay, let me switch gears here, and we'll log into Explorer.
Yeah. I have some sites too we can look at as well. So.
Okay.
Oh, you need to click on connect. It looks like.
It's just where's my IEEE right there? Bump.
Yeah. Probably have to click on connect.
Oh yeah, sorry, missed that. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's good. So I'm plugged into the Cat 5. That's why I didn't have to do that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I don't know what this is. The Microsoft.
Yeah.
Close. I don't care about that.
You show them the rising stars, or something?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, this
do
is
that.
the IEEE basic.
Yep.
Where you go? Yeah.
And I don't need that. All right. So IEEE entity web hosting. So there's for our IEEE audience, there are some options here for that go beyond WordPress. So we have the ability to do virtual hosting. So this is HTML hosting. This is where you could set up a WordPress site. There's virtual hosting if you would like to set up your own domain. I think they can co-locate a server as well, although I don't know if they're doing that as much these days with WordPress.
Well, IEEE WordPress is hosted on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Amazon Cloud Services.
So
what WordPress hosting, is that mean IEEE host or what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
IEEE host, but use WordPress.
Yeah.
So actually, it's not inside web host.
It's-
the WordPress.
It's not inside the WordPress site. IEEE is acting as the host in this case, but it sounds like it's through Amazon.
Well, the servers are Amazon.
Yeah.
In other words, they're using Amazon servers for the.
What is the virtual hosting?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, virtual is you have a domain and
Yeah.
you're going to host your domain on the IEEE site. But I mean, it's obviously needs to be an IEEE related domain. We're not IEEE isn't going to take any it's an IEEE organizational unit can have a URL. Like for the humanitarian conference, we have IEEEGHTC.org.
That's a virtual hosting.
Yeah, that's virtual hosting. So when you click on that, you go to the WordPress site. And it doesn't have a URL about being a site, blah, blah, blah. It's ghtc.org. And everything you're looking at is ghtc.org.
So you're gonna just register your domain. So let's suppose we bought a domain for xyz.IEEE.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just go here and submit a request.
Yep.
For that domain, and they will set up the WordPress for that domain.
That's correct. You'll get set up with a basic template. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have to provide them all the credentials like DNS server or stuff like that, or they will figure it out on their own. Because I need to provide them some credentials for domain, like I registered from, let's suppose, GoDaddy.com.
Okay.
And I have to give them my GoDaddy account or something like that. How they will basically.
Well, here you give them your IEEE member ID and stuff like that.
So then,
if this is if you already have the domain, you can send a note off to IEEE within reason, and you can say, hey, I'm going to have a conference or whatever, and they'll get you a domain.
Oh, okay.
and then you telecon, or you talk, basically you talk to the staff.
I see.
And,
I see. So you coordinate with.
and you can get WordPress site set up with a new domain. We had to do that. We just did that recently for a conference that I'm for the.
Okay. Do you know how long will it took for you, like process?
Week or two.
It takes some time to get the domain obtained, so it could take. Well, in our case, it was like instantly, but it could take a week, maybe, and it could take another week or two. So you're looking at 2 to 3 weeks, worst case, to get it done. The slowest part seemed to be getting the IT staff to connect the domain, to put the record in the redirection table at the main IEEE IT system to point to it.
Yeah. Did you say that there are restrictions on what IEEE will accept as a virtual hosted site?
Well, typically it's related to e-commerce, things like that. Yeah. So that if you have an IEEE branch or section, then you want to sell stuff, you generally have to do that outside the IEEE domain.
Well, I guess what I have in mind is more of an academic type of website, but it's not necessarily associated with my college.
I see.
Is that
okay? It has to be some subunit of IEEE to be hosted there. Yeah, it has to be an IEEE activity. It has to be an IEEE activity.
I just want to mention to you because WordPress, if you to WordPress.org.com, and it will jump to you. You can sign up a free site right now. It's take you 2 minutes. You'll see this. You just create there, and then you can use that as exercise. It takes 5 minutes.
I'm not going to cover it.
But I have a set of slides that shows the steps to create a site on WordPress.com.
Yeah, because right now they just guide it through you. Then when they do it, you can see how it looks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can go through that after lunch maybe or whatever, and just show people the steps on doing that.
We'll hit that after lunch. So like I said, I just wanted to go over and show you a few IEEE sites and other sites that are WordPress based, so you get an idea. So we'll start out with IEEE Region 6 site. So here you can see it's got its own domain. So it's IEEE-region6.org. And I'm going to show you it in two different browsers. We have the
pull-down menus too.
So you get an idea of what it might look like in two different browsers and what some of the quirks are, I guess, that you'll see in those two different browsers. Right. So this is Chrome, and that is Internet Explorer. So look at the menu structure.
Right.
And then, there's a search thing hidden up in there somewhere.
Right.
That's there.
Right. And that's a feature of the menu structure thing, because it's doesn't think you're going to have that many entries in it, and then it sort of wraps, but it wraps better on Chrome than it does in Internet Explorer. So you may discover when you put your site up that you're going to run into things that are different. One thing you can then, I had an issue with, I think, the footer menu. We had too much stuff in the footer menu of one of our sites, and that I took over for it, and the person liked to put stuff in the footer. So there's all sorts of stuff in the footer, and so I went into the CSS plugin that we had, and I figured out how to make the height of the footer area bigger. And so I went and I made the height of the footer area bigger, and it solved the problem.
So that's kind of basic. This is our landing page. We've got, I think all these are promos. So the promo widget text.
Yeah.
And here's our post.
Text widget. No, yeah.
Post right there. And then news topics. If you want to select a category, you can do that. This is RSS feed from IEEE.
Yeah,
and then here's some links that I've plugged in. We have some material that people use frequently, like the tools meetings is a good one. So if you click that, this will take you over to IEEE vTools meetings. So this is what you probably see if you log in under this.
Then you'll have that B2 direct feed into that place.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And then what else? These are some regional links. So
and the meta's at the bottom.
Yep.
That's where the meta on our site. We put
that's
we put the
meta.
meta stuff in
Okay.
the footer.
Yep. Okay. So some other things to note, like awards. I think we're going to get into this later this afternoon, but so I've created a menu structure here where there's multiple items on the pop-outs, and this is a static. So the awards, if I click on that, it's going to take me to a static page. This is going to take me to any content, any posts that are tagged with awards.
Category.
Category. And this is a static page, and this is a static page. So you can create some kind of interesting menu structures.
Oh, and another thing is the region operations with the little L on it. I use the user access manager, so that if you're a volunteer and you log in, that menu item shows up, and you can go there and there's some documents. So that's an example of something that you can make. If you log in, you can have menu things show up that aren't there that if you don't log in.
On this left side,
Mm-hmm.
how do you do like which one on the top, which one on the bottom?
It's a menu structure.
It's the order you put them in.
Yep.
The order you put it in.
Yeah. So you graphically, you
So
drag it and
whenever
drop
new
it.
things come, you just push.
No, those are static. Those are images. But the latest news is the order you put them in. So
The news is this, but all those stacks, how do you decide which one on the top?
These right here, these.
Those are the widgets.
Those are the images, and so it just it
drop
interprets the HTML code that you put in sequence.
Oh, you can't just drag and pull to
No.
change.
So that.
Can you show us?
That's the widgets thing that you had. Remember you had the. Oh yeah. Just go to
I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll bring that up.
Yeah, that works.
I'll bring it up.
Sometimes I want to feature something on the
Absolutely. So that's under
Widget,
themes,
yeah.
appearance, widgets.
top. Okay, widgets.
Mm-hmm. And under promos,
under
then
text.
we've got here this text.
So yeah, so it's in the order that's in there.
So you can
okay.
see.
The order is which one you have to cut it. Copy.
Well, it's typed in.
It's
So
typed
whatever
in,
order
right.
you type it in is the order it's going to show up. So we got 4 things in there.
Yep, so there's the text for ILC, here's the text for SUSTech, here's the text for GHTC, and then here's the text for the promo banner.
So you have to type it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
And
not
then-
like
and you have to-
when you cannot just import a picture
Mm-mm.
and then you click on to have links. No.
No,
Not
it doesn't work that
in
way.
not in that area. You have to type it all into the widget area for the promo text.
Managed to open the CD drive down there. All right, so let's see, let's go back over here. Let's see.
We
Yeah.
can pull on the My Sites. Go up to the My Sites thing
Mm-hmm.
and see. So if you're in WordPress and you have multiple sites, then as long as you're hosted on the same host, it'll show you all the different sites you can get into.
Yep.
So
So I
Sheldon
want-
Rising Stars. That's
I'm
a
gonna-
different organization.
I'm gonna
That's
do
a
that.
different structure,
So,
right?
So again, this is a conference that we put together, put the site together last November, December, and held the conference in January.
So which theme did you use this one?
So this was the WordPress 2014 theme.
2014.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not an IEEE theme. This is a
It's
public.
not
This is a
IEEE.
publicly available theme. So
Okay.
yeah. And see, they have
Make it
a
more fun now.
they have a whole area for header image at the top.
Yeah.
So this image we created, we put this up. It's part of the content creation.
You did this website?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So and that's a page, right? That's a page.
Right. So this is our page, our landing page. There's other sub pages that we put in here. So here's all the.
And the other thing is you put the menu in the sidebar as opposed to being across the top.
Right. So the menu structure is a little bit different.
Can you show us how to do that?
Yep.
Or how that's set
Right,
up?
so let me, let's see, we'll go back over here. I'll pick my sites, the Rising Stars. And if we go down to Appearance and Menus. So let's see, which one did we use? I think it was the left menu. Select. So that's where, like I said, I can create multiple menus in here. And so if you look here, I took these items, I added them to the menu, and then I dragged and dropped in the order and then created some sub-menus as well.
Right.
So like here's program, presenter biographies. If we go look at the site, I got program, and then presenter biographies is off to the side.
Now, then you need to go back to that. You need to go to the widgets, right? Because the menu's in the widget. Is that how you did that?
I can do that. I didn't do it that way. So in this theme, it has the option to pick the menu and where you want to put it.
Oh, the settings setup of the theme?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the theme settings did that.
So there's some different ways you have to pay attention to your theme options in terms of how you create the site as well.
Yeah. Can you go to the theme options
Sure.
just for grins?
Yep. So let's see, themes. And customize. So this is the 2014 theme, as I said. So I just clicked on the options for that. And then so here you are previewing 2014, and you can preview any theme with your site.
Right.
And then
So that's the nice thing about with the WordPress with the preview. So you don't change anything. You can just go back, to the other thing, and you're out of here, and you haven't. Only if you click on save when you change something. So yeah.
Yep. So then.
And as you said, sorry, and as you said earlier, you can create your content, and then you can change your different.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
it's like.
Yeah. So in fact, let's just do that. Okay. So instead of 2014, I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to say live preview. I don't know
Now,
what this is.
if you click on activate, you change it,
Yeah,
right? But
well-
preview, you get to see what it's going to look like.
So this is the IEEE Rising Stars conference in
Right.
that theme.
Right. And you notice that the
All the
menu
menus
is
are
now
up
on
at
the
the top.
top. It's not on the side.
Yeah. Presenter biographies and programs. So it just looks completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I click program, this is the program for it. And if we look at the program in its original theme, this is what the program looks like.
Right.
And so,
Right. But notice in this case, it's the text area is a lot narrower, and the other one, the text area is wider. So different themes are going to have different ways things look.
yep. But I didn't have to code anything. I just clicked it and acted or looked at it. That's
Right.
nice.
Right. But you may decide that you don't like the menu structure,
Yep.
and you're going to have to go back and redo the menu structure because the theme has a different stuff that it supports.
So let's say we pick some other theme. I don't know, IEEE WordPress theme.
You want 1.0.2 on that one.
That's okay.
Oh, that is 1.0.2. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
because the version 1 is not ready for prime time.
So it's generating the theme. It's constructing it from the database.
Yeah. So so this is
this is
a completely different
different.
architecture.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't even work.
well, it does, but they're trying to move us to a completely different way of presenting pages than the way we've been doing them. So. That's an example of a conference kind of theme where everything's like on one page.
Then again, it's got all your content. In this case, it did put the menu structure on the left, had the sub-menus.
Right.
So this is definitely.
And then you need to put a logo at the top, so it's not using whatever the banner was. You're going to have to change that around to change the configuration.
Yep. All right. So what else should I point out here? So I will say from the table perspective on this particular page, if you'll notice, I have a line feed carriage return after this bold title to the text. Every time I came in and edited this program, WordPress would blow that away.
Yeah.
So if I edited it and I put in the line carriage return line feed and saved it, it would save it. The next time I came in, if I didn't do that again, it would blow it away and it would disappear.
Yeah.
So there's some quirks there that you just kind of have to keep in mind in terms of formatting. You may have to work with it a little bit.
And that was a change that they did in the later versions of WordPress. A year ago, you wouldn't have to do that. So they redefined how the editor worked. And so I haven't looked at 4. We haven't been running 4, and so I haven't looked at 4. But although WordPress.com, they're running the latest version.
So this afternoon we're going to teach you how to do more with the contact forms. So this is just an example of a contact form with the CAPTCHA on the bottom to prevent the spam. But we'll go through that. Anything else that I want to... So, you know, photos, you can upload all kinds of photos.
Yeah. Right. And there's a way you can create a gallery. You can have them all be side by side. There's like little, what they call thumbnails. So WordPress loves to make thumbnails out of things, and so when you want to upload something, you just want to upload it, and then when you can insert it into thing, it may make it turn into a thumbnail. There's a lot of different things it will do.
So you can click on it, and if you click on it, you can change the behavior as well as you can. In this case, I just had it upload or bring in a larger version of the file, which you can zoom in on. But you can obviously set it up to image to link to some other thing as well. And I haven't tried image maps. I don't even know if that works in WordPress.
I don't know. I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
I've tried galleries, and I can show some examples of galleries.
So that's the Rising Stars site. We've gone over the Utah site, Utah section. What else? Is there anything else that I should?
I can show them a couple of the other ones we've got if you want.
Student activities, yeah. I'm not going to go into that. So I want to real quickly show you one other one. So this is one my wife put together without any help from me.
Believe that?
Yeah, I know. Let's see, where is it?
That's a WordPress?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just to say that, you know, she was trained as an engineer, but she's a doctor, and so she's lost all that engineering training.
It's dormant.
It's dormant, exactly.
Once an engineer, always an engineer, right?
It's still waiting. I don't know why it's waiting, but anyhow, she was able to put this site together herself very easily. You know, it took a little bit of manipulation, but WordPress is just very easy to use. When it's very simple. And if it ever loads, I don't know what she's got on here. There it is. Okay. You know, turned out really well. Very, very happy with.
Which can you look at the page source in this?
Yeah.
Is that a? Yeah. So if you so this is useful to do. So if you're looking at a page and you're wondering, I wonder how they did this, or what plugins they're using, you can look at the page source. I get to scroll down a bit because you'll see in there. Is that actually in WordPress?
I don't know where she set it up, but maybe it's not. The point is that what she did, it's the same kind of stuff. I mean, if you go out there, you can find WordPress sites. There's other options, and they work about the same.
But she created this in kind of a Word format and then plunked it in, or?
I think she did, actually. I think she did create it on her MacBook, you know, using Word on her MacBook, and then, you know, put that in.
I hate to type all of this stuff.
I know. Well, yeah, this stuff is, she didn't type all of this in.
Right.
She didn't do that at all.
This is a Wix site. It's a free website builder, just like WordPress.
No, she used Wix.
Wix,
that's not WordPress. That's Wix. Because I didn't recognize some of the. If it's WordPress, you'll see. There's some URLs that are always common to the WordPress thing, so you'll recognize it's the same keywords, the same direct folder names, and you go, oh, okay, this is a WordPress site.
The point is that it's a very easy to use editor, and if you're building a site up, what we're teaching you to do in WordPress, you can do the same thing in other sites as well.
Yeah.
You want to show them if you had?
Yeah, I've got some other.
Let's see here.
Other sites that have some. On laptop one, I think.
There it is. Right.
So this site here is a site that we use. We have work with this on when we're doing risk management. This is a network site. So this is. I clicked on the cloud tag, and I got to. This is all the stuff that I've posted. And then we have archive. Our archive, we have it not as a pull down, but we have it as a list. So if you want to see everything from January you click, and there's all the posts that were put in January. Then we have a network installation. So there's a plugin that lists all the sites in the network. So if I click here, then I go over to the other site. So there's plugins that'll help you if you have a multi-site kind of thing you want to navigate through. So this is all of the factual kind of stuff, and then we have this other site that I was talking to is like a newsletter that we publish twice a week. And so all of the posts, so this is more like a blog format. So this is sort of the kind of thing that you can do, the kind of thing that you can do with WordPress. Let me go over here. Here's Region 6. So
you want to show them the links to the social media as well? Because I didn't do that.
Yeah. Okay. So so we click here, and that's the Facebook. And there we are at the Region 6 Facebook site. So those icons are linked over to the social media sites that you have. And notice that it opened a new tab. What I usually do if I'm putting a URL in and it's going somewhere that's not in the site, I always make sure that I open it to go to a new tab or a new window.
How do you do the link to the Facebook?
That was in the theme setup that we were talking about.
Yep.
So then there's
you click on it and then you put in the URL. That's it.
That's correct.
Yeah,
when you set up.
So there's Twitter for Region 6.
Right.
Oh, good. We actually have a Twitter. Good.
Yeah, we've got them all set. We even got 23 followers.
Ah, very good. And so if you have a YouTube area or a LinkedIn or things like that, so you can link from your site off to these kind of things. And if you're not using the IEEE theme, you can get a plugin that'll it might even be by default in WordPress now.
Yeah,
it's possible because I think it's so popular that everybody wants to do that. The other thing I was going to show you is, for example, I'll show you the humanitarian conference. Are we going? Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Is this going to be the? Okay. It always sends you the dashboard when you go to these things.
Okay.
So let me go back to the site. So when you go to the dashboard and you go to visit the site, I'm going to show you the archive because I'm going to show you the gallery. That's what I'm going to show you. Yeah.
So for GHTC, you basically registered GHTC domain and you request a virtual host, and then you on the IEEE tool, and they basically gave you a dashboard that you just researched on.
Well, they gave us a WordPress site. So yeah, so we registered this domain. Originally, this was not on IEEE. This was on a third party.
Right.
Then IEEE had the WordPress. They said, oh, she would move it over. So we said, hey, IEEE, we've got this domain, and then you have to arrange the transfer of the domain to IEEE because IEEE is now hosting the.
Right.
We bought it through one of the third parties, but it's now on the IEEE DNS and all that kind of stuff.
Do you recommend buying it from IEEE? Do they, we can get it for free? Do they charge? Or
I'm not sure what the charge is. When I got the one that I got, I just said if there's any cost, bill it to the Nanotechnology Council because it's
right. But we can register the new domain through IEEE.
Yes.
Yeah. I would recommend doing that because then
it's easier.
They've got a master list of things that have to be renewed because otherwise you run into the thing it expires. And Fred, who was the treasurer last year, knew that this existed, but Joe's the new treasurer and he doesn't know that there's this thing that has to be paid,
and you
or else the bill goes to Fred and Fred goes, and he ignores it and stuff like that.
And you register a new domain using that web hosting that you showed me, right? You request a new domain.
If you have the new domain, you can put it that way. But if you need a new domain, then you need to contact the IT people. Actually, what I did is I contacted Con Lu.
Yeah.
And he's and I said, hey, we need to get this thing, and he pointed me off to a guy in the IT department, and then
Okay, sounds cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you. So here we have. This is our conference that we do, and we take a bunch of photos every year. And you'll notice that if you have a site page with a lot of photos and stuff, it can take a while to load because it's got to load, all of these images. So this is an example of a gallery. So I put all these photos into a gallery, and so if I click on like this photo here, then it shows up. So I've got these photos in the gallery. So this is using the gallery plugin, and it has some navigation. And then I think if I hit escape, it goes back to the normal. So you can do things like having a photo gallery. So if you have something, I don't know, something you're a business, you're selling, I don't know, handbooks or handbags or something, you could have a photo of them all like that if you want to do something like that. So there you can do galleries. And this is another, one of these things. So this is a URL as we showed you. Let's see what else is there worthwhile showing.
So in these videos, you connect with the video content host on the website, or it's connected to the...
Well, it just goes to the URL. It goes to the URL where...
URL.
So it goes to a page at IEEE where you can look at videos.
Oh, like
Yeah.
the video for like an hour videos, it goes to where?
You got it. Well, we don't have the videos hosted here. They're on YouTube or someplace like that, and it goes or on IEEE TV.
YouTube allow you to put like an hour video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So example, here's a video.
That's hosted.
Here's
on
a video,
YouTube.
and this is on YouTube, and we've embedded it in the home page. Okay.
Okay.
And then we have a contact form down here. So we have stuff like that.
This workshop.
Pardon?
I want to put your videos on our website, so we can upload to the YouTube.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that would be better.
You have to have a YouTube account, but once you have that set up, you probably want to set one up for your section, and just upload it to that section's account, and then just link to it, just like this, embedded in the page. Yep.
Let's look at.
Now, there's if you upload it to YouTube, they have no concept of access control, right?
Right.
Okay.
So anybody can watch that.
Right. Well, unless you make it an unlisted video. If you make it an unlisted video on YouTube, then they have to know the URL to see it, and nobody can search for it. It won't show up in the search results. Now, if somebody sees it and has the URL, they can mail it to all their friends.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not going to be searchable from people finding YouTube. So this is another site we did. I'm trying to find the map. Maybe. I'm trying to find the map. I thought I had the map on the front page.
If you go to Region 6 and look for the...
oh, here it is. Okay, so this is an embedded Google map. Okay, so we can... that's where the hotel was. So you can invent them. You can invent. This is using MapPress plugin. So you can do things like that.
I could ask you, how do you do, back to the video question, how do you do a subscription-based video? Is there some way you can do that easier with?
We're working on that.
You mentioned about unlimited access. Is there something kind of like a certain list of people or whatever, some kind of ID-based?
We're actively working on that with IEEE Region 6 right now. I don't have a good answer for you. I will say that we're close to putting an option out, but it's something that you kind of need. If you don't host it on the WordPress site, that wherever you host it obviously needs to have access control. And then if you have credentials on your WordPress site, you would then have to be able to transfer those credentials through to that other site. Right. If you host it on the WordPress site, then you have to have a lot of space, because videos generally take up a lot of space. So it's a tricky problem, and we're working on it. That's all I can say. I don't have an answer.
Like when we sign up with WordPress from WordPress hosted site, how much space it gives? Would that enough for us to do video
Well, on the Region 6 or the Utah section, it was 2,000 megabytes, so that's 2 gigabytes.
Right.
That's all.
That's good.
Yeah, one video
Yeah,
can be a
that's actually
gigabyte.
good. I mean, if apart from the videos are not uploaded on that hosting, videos goes to YouTube. They're just linked.
Yeah.
So we're working on a solution for that, and I hope to have it up soon. I mean, it's actively being worked on.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, the AWS.
Uh-huh.
Like how, will they accept the people to host people's website? You can sign up or some sort.
They don't provide the web. I mean, they provide the. You can upload the content there, but you cannot register domain there. It's not.
You cannot list domain there.
You
but
cannot. You cannot register domain like ABC.
Yeah, but
com.
how do you host content there?
You provide the DNS stuff there, like you connect the way the WordPress the domain is connected to WordPress. You can connect the WordPress to your domain to Amazon Web Hosting for services.
Because like our hackathon last week, they
hosted
have
the
so
stuff.
many data and all kind of graphics and all kind of things are hosted at AWS, right? But the website's not AWS.
Yeah, website. So you connect your service that is on the website with AWS.
Yeah. So this is an example of this is a meeting we put on, an annual meeting, and we hosted. And so this is the program, and I just made up a table, and I was able to use style things in different colors, and embed a video, a little promo. We have promos for some of the events. And you can make them small, and so this is using the so this put all the program on one place so people could scroll down, and I had made a PDF so that people could get a better version of it. But so that was the so that's the kind of thing you can do if you're putting on some kind of event with a program. You can and then the other thing that we've done is let me go back to the GHTC for a second, which is back here. Is archives. Okay, let's look for 2014. And where's the program? Here we are. Okay. That's the wrong link. Let's. Yeah, let me go to this one here. Okay, this works. So what we did here is we had a conference. It was a fairly large conference. It had as you see here are all these different sessions, and so we had a bunch of information about speakers, and so what I did is I created another page, and so this is you can do cross-page references. Oops. All right, maybe you can. I archived it and I moved stuff around. So I think when I moved stuff around, I broke something, which I'll have to go back and fix that. But
there's a plugin to monitor those broken links too.
Yeah. So anyway, so theoretically, what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to take you over to because the links are broken, right? Yeah, because this is going to give you another 404, I think. Yeah. Anyway, see, let me go back. I'm going to have to fix that. Okay. So if I go over here to the keynote speakers, this is easier thing to do. If you have a list, like we had all these speakers, and we had dozens of these people, and so what we did was, is if you click here, it goes down to their bio and their abstract. So you can use the interpage reference, references kind of stuff, because so you can use those kinds of things will work on the links that you can put. So you can tag things in that because it's regular HTML. That's an HTML feature. So
it's kind of a manual process to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, you can do that. So if you have a lot of information, and you could. What I was trying to show you was in the program itself, where I had this session listed, you could click on the person's name and it would come over to their entry over here.
Yep.
so that I didn't have to have the content in two places, right? I could just have it one and just use these these interpage links to do that.
Do we need to break?
Yeah.
12:30 the food.
12:30.
12:30,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
So the food will deliver here. I'm waiting for them to deliver.
Okay.
They told me.
All right.
So before that, I think if you want to the restroom, the drinks,
Yeah.
they're all around
Yeah,
here.
I could go through this now. Why don't we do through this? This is the WordPress.com. So this is, so I went to WordPress.com to set up a site. So you go to WordPress.com and it says, do you want to create a website? And so you get to this. So I said, sure. You get to this thing. I typed in the site name. I have to put in my email, a username, and a password. And then it sends me a link. And it wants to sell me a custom address, you know. So I call this Seattle Demo 2015 because just for for this class. So they'll sell you all these different domains, you know, if you want to buy a real domain for that. Then they have a set of themes. So as you can see. So they have like all different kinds. So if you want to look at different fancier themes, you know, because there's a lot of creative type people who want to have blogs, you know, so they have a lot of photographers and things like that. So they have a lot of themes to highlight and showcase things like that. And then you have like the regular article type themes that are available. So you pick a theme. Then they want to know, hey, free, you get sort of minimal stuff. They like to get $99 a year out of you for premium hosting, which means you get more features. I think the features thing is on the bottom of the page. I didn't have space enough to put it in the slide. But if you're business, you can get $299. I think business means you get the e-commerce. I think that's what you're getting with that. And then you get your site, and there you go to your. This is sort of their version of the dashboard. Okay, so they have an interim thing. So you can go to the admin thing. You can view your site. You can do some stats. You can do publishing. So what they've done is they have redefined some of the dashboard interface at WordPress.com. Because they're in the retail business, selling retail WordPress things, so they've obviously had to make it a little bit more user friendly for retail type people, retail customers. And then here's the preview of the site. So and it wants to know your tagline, header images, things like that. And they give you when you set up WordPress. It comes with a post and a comment, just so that there's some content, because otherwise you would show the thing up and it'd say something not found, and people get all confused. Why is it saying something's not found? So they put in a thing that says this is your third person thing, and then they have the headers. So they come with a default header. And you can upload, and it tells you how big it is. So if you want to make a new header, it has to be 1280 by 426 in this example. You can have multiple headers and have them re-randomized. So every time you go to the site, you see a different header, things like that. So that depends on the theme, kind of thing that you do.
Oh,
and then they have, yeah.
Oh, now at the beginning, you started off with the generic URL. Can you edit that later, or do you have to sort of create a brand new site?
Good question.
No, I can answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot edit that. Once the URL is created for WordPress, it's created.
Can you delete the word WordPress?
You can so if you registered a blog, for instance, my blog was something.wordpress.com. Then I bought my own domain like ravindra.com. Yep. Then I transferred my site that something.wordpress.com to ravindra.com.
Yeah.
So you can transfer that. But once you created a link, it's created.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, you'd have to either create another site and delete this site, or do something like that. Yeah. Now, if you can get into the database, you can go and you can do miracles in the database. But WordPress.com is not going to let you go into the database and change things.
If I wanted to create a URL that I did not get from that list, right? I can just go to some buy my own domain, can I use this?
But if your domain is like xyz.com registered, it's a global directory. If WordPress is not showing you xyz.com is available, then you cannot get it anywhere.
Oh, sure, but assuming it's available, I can still.
But you can, you can buy it from WordPress too, and I'll suggest you to if you want to buy it.
Okay.
Well, see, I had typed in.
But if it's not one of those, if I want another one.
See, I typed the name of the blog in, and they went out and looked through all of the common things and said.
You can search.
Search, okay.
Yeah. It's just a suggestion.
I see.
Oh, yeah, search, yeah. So you could type it in and search for it, right, and then they'll tell you if it's there or not, yeah. And then you got widgets, so you go in and you put what's in the sidebar. This thing has 3 footers and 1 sidebar. And then, so then you go to the widgets, and so you have, these are the widgets that they give you, and some other ones, and so you can customize those. So we sort of went through this. And then they send you an activation message, and you have to click on that which has a URL, and that goes back, and then that knows that you're a real person.
Why is all the website use hobby? What is HOWD1?
It's like hi. It's
Hi.
just hi.
Just hobby.
It's like
Hi.
Yeah, it's just
Because I was confused. I said there's nobody called hobby. I was
right, yeah.
Slightly modern, like cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Now that you created this, is your Seattle demo live?
Yeah.
Right away?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because as soon as it's created, see, I clicked on the thing.
No.
I think the thing on, and it verified my email, because it needs to know that my email is verified.
You can still work on it.
There's also a plugin that you can install that just basically turns whatever page you want into under construction.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that after lunch, or the lab tomorrow, whatever, when we got a lot more time for doing more hands-on stuff. And this is the dashboard, so you go back to the dashboard and after you, but see, you clicked on the link and it says, so I waited patiently for the email to come in. I clicked on the link and then it says I could get into it. And then I look at the stats, and it tells you how many people have visited. So it has built-in statistics. So this is on WordPress.com. And then there's the dashboard, and they have a video, and they have resources and stuff like that. So it's very nice. And so that's basically my saga with WordPress.
I have a question. We can go to WordPress.com, and I found this sign-up thing.
Right.
And I think for the purpose of experimentation, I just have a free account. Yep. But also there's a download program called WordPress-411. Do I have to install something on my computer?
No.
That's if you want to self-host.
Only if I need to self-host.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, and there's also a .tar.
Yeah.
That's for Unix.
That's for?
That's a Unix. They have I think they have a zip file or a TAR file. That's how it's archived together.
It's a compressed version of it.
So I don't bother with that.
No.
Yeah. You don't need to download it. No. You could just for fun and games and then unpack it and look at the code, but.
Well, okay, so
because
it's working on WordPress and online all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, there's nothing to prevent you from downloading, the zip file or the file from WordPress and then unpacking some folders on your system and going and looking at it and reading through the code if you want to. I mean, it's.
The one caveat in that, if you do the self-hosting on WordPress, the WordPress keep updating their versions. Mm-hmm. So if you're self-hosted on if you're self-hosted, you have to manually update your version, download this and update.
Yeah. Although they've changed that recently, the new version will automatically update the volume of the WordPress.
Every now and then goes out and checks, hey, am I still okay or not?
Yeah. I think when you go, probably it may be when you log in as the administrator, you log in or whatever, it probably runs some code because it's obviously as a regular user looking at your sites, it's not going to say, hey guy, we're going to update the site now. It's probably when you guys you log in as the administrator, so what happens is when you log in, there's all sorts of different PHP code that'll run depending on. If you log in, you're the administrator, and it'll run through all these different modules and subroutines and things like that, and one, so there's different paths through that do different things.
And If you use WordPress host site, they automatically upload, change, upgrade.
Okay.
But if you use IEEE with your state with like 3 point something, much earlier version, and many of the features, it's very difficult to customize.
Yeah.
So step one on the process of getting started here in the lab is just basically create an account on WordPress.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll try to do that.
Can you then change and upgrade and go to the professional at $99 or something like
Yes,
that?
yes.
I'm sure they'll take your
If
money.
you're on
They
WordPress.com,
will
yeah,
take your
yeah,
money.
yeah.
You can upgrade to that one.
You can always upgrade.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there some commercial site where you can go and they would show you how to do a certain thing that you want
Well,
for a
YouTube.
price, for a cost of some kind?
Oh,
Like,
well-
for example, you want to do a certain thing like subscription-based video, and you go there and you ask them, and they will tell you how to do it. Is there such a thing like that?
If it were me, I would look on YouTube. I'd see if there was something that was free available. And if that didn't work out, I'd go to something like Elance and say, can you guys do this for me?
Go where?
Elance. Elance, I think it's elance.org. It's an online contractor, kind of business contractor forum, where you can, if you're looking for somebody to do a job, you can post a job, and then the contractors can bid on that and get you that.
Yeah. If you go to YouTube and type in WordPress,
Yep.
Thousands, hundreds of
okay, there's hundreds of things. So you want to do what, the WordPress video? Okay, WordPress video.
Probably subscriptions.
Oh, sorry. Video sub. Okay, so they have video sharing, video, video theme. So there's all sorts of stuff. And if you just go on the regular internet and ask for WordPress, let's do that. Let's go over here and do WordPress video sub. So subscription looks like it's not a. Video subscription plugin.
There you go.
Okay, there's only 30,000 plugins, right? So, how to create a video membership site? Okay.
It actually may be easier for you to do it than for us as
Okay.
IEEE to do it. Because you can install these plugins, we can't.
Right. So you'd probably this would probably not be on a WordPress.com thing. This is I don't know. We'll have to see what it says here. It says. No, this is for WordPress eMember. I'm not sure what a WordPress eMember is, but anyway, somebody has a how-to. Yeah, I'd have to read through this and study it. I can't, off the top of my head, say that this video subscription thing is the be-all and end-all, but looks to me like he's using the 2014 theme or the 2011 theme. Oh, so let's see. So what you do here is you do here. So if you find a site that you like and go, what are they doing?
Page source at the bottom.
There it is, page source. Okay, so as you can see, he's using SEO, all-in-one SEO pack, so you know what he's using for his SEO. But then he's also using Yoast as well. I don't know why he's using both. And then he's got,
You can search for it in this.
yeah, I don't know if the theme is in there. Let's look at the theme.
What is used?
That's the name of a guy.
Yeah.
Is the name of the guy?
Yeah, it's the person that created that search engine optimization plugin. I'm going to go over that one this afternoon.
Yeah. See, what you do is here is you can tell it's WordPress because you obviously this says WordPress membership, but if you look down here, it says WP-include, so that you'll see that there's certain things in the URLs that have WordPress, folder names, so you can tell the guy's got a site that's running WordPress. Somewhere it should say what his theme is, but I don't see that. He might have done his own. He might have done his own. his own theme. He might have taken like the 2014 theme and just changed it around and made his own thing out of it. Because you can do that. You can take like, you know, these themes that come with them, and you can take the code and you can modify the code. So that's another kind of sort of thing you can do. It's a little more, maybe a little too techy for some people, but you know, you can. So he's using Amazon. So he's using some service on Amazon. Let's see. Okay, so apparently this is a plugin. Okay, get the plugin. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's like lots of plugins. If we go, let's see if we go over here to WordPress and we look at plugins. I'm stalling until 12:30. So there's this. So as of today, there's 36, almost 37,000 plugins. These are the ones that are posted on WordPress.com, which I believe have to be free. The people that will pay for plugins, there's probably more of those somewhere that may not be. I think there's a thing on WordPress.com that has to be free. It can't be something that you have to pay for. And yeah, so now they're up to almost 900 million downloads of various plugin files.
On the Seattle site that you created, can you install a plugin?
I have that up. Hopefully it's still logged in.
Did you?
And then themes. Let's look at the themes. There's
plugin for Kismet.
yeah. Does it say how many themes? These are the newest themes. I don't see a.
I do something wrong.
Oh, that's featured, popular. Okay, there's 2012. So there's there was a 2013. So these are the ones obviously that come with it on the latest. Let's look at the latest. So here's an interesting. This looks like sportsy. Okay, so in this case, they've got little tiles of photographs. So there's lots of different themes that will have, you know, that you can go through. This actually came out like yesterday. So they have statistics to tell you how many times these things have been downloaded. Let me go back to one of the other ones. Let's go back to featured. So depending on, here's an interesting one. And where's statistics? Oh, there's downloads per day. Okay, so you can tell. So there's 10,000 people who downloaded this. You know, so if you got a theme and you got 4 million people who downloaded it, you say, okay, this is really popular. You know, if you got a theme that 3 people have used, you say, well, is it new? How good would the support be? If I found something that's got a problem, is the guy going to answer my emails? Things like that. So those are some of the things you need to think about when you're looking at some of these things.
Okay.
Do they have the most popular? Popular plugins. Okay. So Akismet, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't have how many people have used it. Okay.
1 million active
over
installs.
1 million. Okay, I guess they stopped counting at 1 million.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So they've got, there's a thing called, it's a plugin called, it used to be called Better WordPress Security. So this is a plugin that would go through and look into your database and flag you on anything that you should change or to make it more secure. Like when you when you install, if you install the site yourself, the default username for the admin is admin. You probably ought to change that, okay? Because like everybody knows admin, you know, it's like, you know, so you don't go with the defaults. Or the name of the database is usually, you know, WP dash, you know, so the hackers have a better idea of what to go after. So if you make it some other name, then it's a little more obscure. Yeah, so here's something to clean up your database. So if you've got people with a lot of comments, a lot of spam, and you're deleting the spam, eventually your database can get a little bit, you know, have a lot of junk in it, or a lot of areas where there used to be junk and there's nothing now, and so you maybe, you know, so you can clean up your database. Yeah.
Yeah, question, if you have a website that's like members only, what type of plugin would you use for that, where they have to have a password and whatever?
Good question. Let's go back up here and look for members only. There you are.
There you go. 38,000 plugins.
Now, however, see, here's a caveat.
Yeah.
This plugin has not been updated in over 2 years.
Yeah.
All right? And we go down here and we look at the statistics. And, well, it had, now people are still downloading it.
Yeah.
You're getting on the order of 40 to 50 people downloading it per day, even though it hasn't been updated in over 2 years.
I think that's one of the plugins we have for IEEE.
Yeah. So yeah, today 17, yesterday 37, total of 151,000. Oh yeah, then there's one version 0.6.7. All right. So then what you do is, okay, let's look at the support forum. All right. So you want to look here and you say, okay, so the last thing in the support forum is a year ago. And then you look through here, and if you see things like, does it work with latest version of WordPress? And things like that, you go, okay, this is probably not a good idea. Yeah. Right? So that's a good thing to check out the support forum on some of these things and get an idea of what kind of problems people are saying. There's reviews. And so here's some reviews you can read.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, here's a great one. I installed it, and I decided I didn't need it, so I removed it, and deactivated it, and it still was going. I removed it, it's still going. I deleted the database, and it's still going. So you go, this may be too complicated for me to deal with this, you know. So it's good to look at. You had a question?
Can even I request a website for WordPress website through IEEE, or is that only?
No, it's just for your student branch. For your student branch.
It's only for IEEE related things. Yeah. If it's hosted by IEEE.
Your student branch could get a WordPress website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you had some kind of special kind of thing you were doing with your student branch, but I mean it's associated with an IEEE activity, like you were putting on a conference or you're putting on some kind of project or something, you wanted to have a website for it. Yeah, but as long as it's traceable back to an IEEE OU.
So lunch is here.
All right.